Hello, everyone, and welcome back to PUBG Online. Was that a little bit of the Running Man there, Dave? I like that.
I'm getting warmed up. Getting warmed up for the games. I'm ready.
That's what I like to hear. Jabroni back here with Mustache Dave. It is, of course, Monday night. It is week 6, our final week of split number 1, and it is time for NA. Dave, we do not have much time on desk here. We're starting a little early. Teams are ready. They're in the lobby. Lobby's starting. We're about to get ready to go. Let's break it down right now. Today is a huge night for a lot of these teams. Who does Mustache Dave look at tonight and it's like, all right, these teams need to make showdown. They need to get top 16. Who are those squads for you?
So you're talking on the cusp.
On the cusp, Dave.
You gotta ask me later. I mean, the pressure's on. The pressure's on, right?
I know. We're looking at a ton of teams.
So pressure's on. But I'm just gonna say not on the cusp. But I'm looking for totality, Optic, Tempo Storm, Nova. I want to bring the heat tonight. I want to bring the action. And ask me later about the cusp.
All right. Totality right now sitting in 6th place. Tempo Storm, where are they on my list? Tempo Storm in 11th, Optic in 2nd. Those teams all looking really good right now, but it's those on the cusp we need to watch. It's Duel, it's 4 PUBG players, it's Turtle Squad, it's Render Esports. They're all right around 16, but they need to get in. This is top 16 only going to Showdown. There's so much going on today, so much going on this week. First place in split number 1 will bring home $3,000. Second place, $1,500, and third place, $500. On top of that, the top 16 teams out of our 40 will enter the Showdown Series to compete for $20,000 in split number 2.
So good.
I am sorry that I'm talking so fast, but you see the timer. Game 1 is about to start. Dave?
Vitamin C. I got my vitamin C. I'm ready.
Yeah, vitamin C. Me and Dave will be back on the desk after game number 1, after game number 2, after them all for the rest of the night. But right now, it is time, so let's hop right into game number 1 with Matchroom and Toffees.
Hello everyone, and welcome into Game 1. We are getting everything underway an hour early today, just due to all of the timing issues with one of the updates, but we have our plane up and in the air. I am Matchroom, and I'm being joined today by Toffees. As you can see, the airplane is up, Toffees, and looks to be a pretty friendly one.
Friendly airplane, yeah. I'm hyped. It's going to be a great game, great night. End of the split, from what I understand, so we should see some pretty good games. A lot of players, some of them I think flying back or have been a little bit off of training lately, so that'll be interesting to me to see. The European and NA scrims haven't been happening as much this last 2 weeks because of PGL and some other things going on, so I'm curious to see how that affects some of these teams in their play.
Oh, without a doubt. We still have one day tomorrow, but remember the way the lobbies are all set up. We've got the guys that are going to be playing today. They don't have a chance to play tomorrow. Naturally, guys play Monday, don't play on Tuesday. Tuesday, don't play on Monday, vice versa. So this is the last chance for everybody inside these lobbies to really work their way up inside there, try to get those points that are oh so necessary. And looks like we have a little bit of interesting breakout happening around the Georgia Pool area, as Optic's going to go where they're known to go, probably pushing over towards north. But it looks like Mr. Fuzzy ran right on top of Totality, so now Totality is pulling off of South George, and it looks like 17 is going to be dropping over crates.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. I mean, and we talked about this. I was watching actually college PUBG last night, and it was actually a ton of fun to sort of see a level below pro. And we were talking a lot about sort of why it is that we don't see teams fighting early. And so even though we see that spread or we see people dropping all over George, I expect not a ton to come out of it. Though I will say at Matchroom, I have seen more traps recently. Players who know that, say, they're dropping next to Optic and Georgia Pole or things like that, choosing to, instead of push middle, find places where they know a team is going to be rotating later and then trying to get free kills with traps in that area. And that's something that I don't think we saw a lot in the months previous. Something sort of, I think, has emerged since Katowice.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of, everybody used to have that meta of just hard push center, and now you have some teams that still do it. But now you have those ones that set up the traps or play along the edges of the or the outer circle, kind of waiting to see how they reposition in. But speaking of circles, looks like we've got a fairly centralized one around Stolber, but we also have a fight that's happening back over here with 17, taking some shots over towards this Warlock, who has managed to get in the UAZ, trying to drive out. You can see the health is dipped pretty low, and he does get dropped out of it. That's going to be all she wrote for Warlock, and that is a bad start.
Warlock, stop and drop. It's unfortunate for him. It's not what you want to see if you're Grunto Esports early on, but, you know, you got to love that as 17. And that's something I like about what 17's been doing with his loot. He's been sort of looting farther out. So in the old Optic system, they always were all inside of the city. When a Vanguard's not dropping with them, 17 likes to float outside the city a little bit, play sort of a buffer role, and it gets him the chance to get kills like this.
We're back over here as well, looking at several different skirmishes that have broken out. Popping over with Theris, as you can see that Rush, they have managed to get a line of sight over towards Lush. So Ben Long is coming back over there, trying to go for the sneaky res. Naturally, you see that Lush is back behind the rock. I think Theris is just going to let it go. Probably not going to get too aggressive for it, kind of looking around for more information, but he can't really do anything until the vehicle moves out of that line of sight position.
Absolutely. Sometimes you just have to pull an Elsa and not force it. Let him get that res and let them get out of there. I mean, the cost already is going to be significant. Lush, if not already, like hurting to find supplies. So now L2P is he's looting at a context of being in the negative, right? He's desperately searching for a first aid kit to just get started. Meanwhile, we got Outlaw also knocked in the map right now, so he's in some trouble. Soko just got picked up. There's a lot of early sort of battles going on here.
With a very awkward drop like this, you can see everybody was trying to push off into the general direction more towards the west. Circle repositioned all the way back over towards Stolver. So now everybody's kind of caught in this mid-transition point. People are trying to figure out how they're wanting to come out of this. So the Outlaw has been dropped, but we got Peaches doing a hot foot over to him. Looks like Outlaw's in a fairly safe position, so should be able to get that res off fairly easily. But you're right, we have had a very bloody early game. I can't help but wonder how we might see this play out. Specifically, we're talking about people looting off of a back foot, where they're going to be coming through without a chance to get a lot of meds, armored, things like that. They're going to be going into a section of the map that's not necessarily known for being very loot dense.
And I think that that's a big key right here, is it's not loot dense. You want to get your gear early if you're going to the north side of the map. Sure, the north side's a fun place to finish. This is a great package, right? Ghillie suit.
Lush, of all people, it's an amazing package. He has no meds. You can see he's running around with no life. He's like, yes, ghillie suit and gun. I'm so happy.
Well, and the tier 3, like literally if it was a tier 3 helmet instead of the vest, it would have been the ultimate sniper special. That said, Binlong's about to drive by Don't Shoot Me, so they saw the box come down. They knew someone might come driving by, Don't Shoot Me, ready to take some shots at them. But like you said, not a lot of places to loot up here. That's the major difficulty of the north side of the map. When you have to make these long transitions, you don't have time, especially if you're like Shraded in the boys down in Milta or the guys from Tempo all the way down by Quarry. You have a long rotation and not a lot of gear, and there's nowhere to supplement that except by taking fights. So it should be a pretty interesting late game.
Specifically, another thing we should note is how much of the circle is still plains. Like, you know, you have that area that's south of Yasnaya, you've got that area that's west of Stalber Mountain itself. So a lot of it is quote-unquote dead zones that are kind of hard to play around. Sure, you can make use of the ravines and stuff like that, but with the circle this size, these guys aren't going to be looking for ravines to hide in. They want to make sure that their vehicles stay safe. So at this point, we could see some very interesting transitions come through, specifically on the rotation phases. Everybody starts to have to push in. I'm really curious to see how different teams opt into playing this, because you're going to have to kind of favor specific areas that you think that the circle might come into. Also, we don't really see Yasnaya getting any attention right now. Kind of curious to see if we might have some people try to hard push into that late game.
Yasnaya is an interesting place, right? Because it's easy to get into, but hard to get out of. It's sort of like prison in a lot of ways. If you go there, you find yourself in a really tough situation. Actually, we're going to jump to a replay. This is that shot from Optic. 17 doing a really great job of knocking Warlock out at the last possible second. He had 2 more bullets that he could send down range, and I was able to get that knock. But if you end up here, camped out, it's a great spot if the circle favors you. But leaving there when you're talking 4th or 5th circle, it becomes incredibly difficult. It's open all around. Everyone else is going to be loaded down in sort of gatekeeper positions. And I think that's why you see a lot of teams avoiding Yasnaya until they feel more comfortable about where that circle is going to end up.
Yeah, it's so hard to extricate yourself out of this position for all the reasons that you're talking about. Plus, a lot of these guys, is Lush going to be able to get this? They're running right up on top of him, and Lush gets downed right off the get-go. You can see that's 2 downs now for Lush. I don't think that he has any support out and around him, and while he got the ghillie suit and he got that glorious present from heaven, now it's just going to be delivered over to Young Bay and Smeagol.
Smeagol is yelling "My precious," I'm sure, as he goes over to that box and tries to get himself some sweet gear. Pretty nice plays for 4 PUBG players, as they got a great little ambush and some really cool stuff. Now, up towards the north, we got some rotation. So what I expect to see, we've got our north rotation teams, right? We're going to see Hunter Rounds playing the scout right now. I expect 3 or 4 teams to commit to that north of Yasnaya or north of Stalber area, but we'll probably see a pretty good condensing just sort of on the coastline, the rocks by Yas, the buildings up there, the warehouse just north of Yasnaya. So it should be pretty congested on the south side of this circle.
I'm kind of curious to see how many different teams will stay in a very transition point. because with the way that the timing's working out, we could see a lot of people kind of opt in playing a little bit more blue damage, coming in later and trying to play for a position after the next circle has revealed itself. We know that that's starting to become a little bit more trendy, but it all comes down to the fact that if you have the stims to really power your way through that. With the way that the circle's broken down to where a whole bunch of people push west and then now having to push up to the northeast, we're seeing a lot more violence than normal and probably not as much time to really get the loot going and the stim.
Absolutely. All right, so now we get to see a couple of big rotations here. Fights breaking out. Warehouse under control. People trying to come in from a couple of different sides to find their position. Looks like Evil Geniuses making their transition, taking shots from Dare Rising as they make that transition. Actually, I like Dare's position here. They're going to be taking out a lot of people as they pass on by. Straighted, as you can see right there, Nova tries to go by. Fear Me says you should have been scared and gets themselves some easy points and an easy hold. So 12 is going to have to make wide rotations now. I love this split position that the guys from Dare Rising have chosen.
Dare Rising are summoning their full Barber Bush right now and saying no to all transitions. You just gotta say no there. And they're holding this down, killing everybody that comes through here, making sure to do as much damage as possible. Even if you manage to make it out of a kill box like that, you take so much potential damage off of it. You're gonna lose helmets, you're gonna have your vehicle take damage. You can see Hetcher was trying to come over this direction. He's now been pushed out and away, having to pull back from the other side. Meanwhile, you can see that the rest of the crew is now coming over here.
It's a strong spot. Well, that's what we saw. Really we mentioned earlier. Hunter Rounds was going for that scout. He got there early. Clearly, Optic was interested in the same spot, but because they made that early rotation, now we get to see Murderous Plus Toys in this very decent spot. It gives a good uphill push, and if the circle sort of favors the coast, they're in a pretty great place to sort of lock it out. So curious to see how that plays. Optic is now a little bit split up across the map, actually a lot split up across the map, as Hetero sort of tries to find a place to bring his team into.
See that Check 6 has already made their escape off of military base, but we still have Tempo outplaying the blue, very slowly making their way back over towards the circle. Looks like they're still trying to meet up right now. We also have Rush and FlyQuest that are playing very close to the edge. So all depending on how Optic come in, we might see one of those traps that you're talking about. Look at the pathing at 17 and how he's making that approach. He might run right through Rush and FlyQuest.
Super interesting. And so the fight's going to start breaking out here. There's not a ton of, like you said, hiding spots, a lot of open areas and using terrain when it comes to this circle. So we should see a couple of range fights here in just a minute or two as teams sort of conglomerate in the same rocky areas. There's some Evil Genius stats for you guys. Total points, 525. Not too shabby. I'd love to get that little extra here tonight. So Rush making a hard rotation. There it is. And as we say that, they're taking shots as Nova tries to find themselves a little piece of real estate just below them.
Well, there's all these little plateaus that you can play off of as on the Stalber side. So you can see all these people are trying to drive up, trying to claim some of those plateaus, getting scared off by people that have already claimed them. This is the downside to coming in just a little bit later, Toffees, is if you're on that later push coming inside of here, you're just running into a potential bloodbath.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the nature of Stalber Mountain. Is it's always going to be an up-down sort of north-south bloodbath for whichever team has the low ground and has to struggle to make their way up. Zyphon, you can see already taking a lot of damage, tosses the smoke off the ground to buy himself some space, but Nova sees him, and Richie takes down Zyphon. He doesn't have much help. The rest of his team is on the opposite side. So Zyphon will be left for dead, essentially, as the rest of EG will just draw off and allow the loot delivery system to go to Nova.
So Evil Geniuses were trying to scare Nova off of that approach, but ended up getting them to abandon their vehicles, take a fight, and that left one of their members very far off to the side, potentially trying to go for a flank, but then just got instantly turned on. Now you can see that Evil Genius is going to try to retreat back a little bit, trying to, well, no, looks like they're still holding this area. Their slow retreat. You can see that Watts is still looking back over towards Nova, while the rest of his teammates are just trying to make their way up towards that warehouse area.
Yeah, so he'll play that sort of defense role. They like to do that with Watts, leave him behind, make sure they're not getting overly pushed, get into a good spot. And it's not a bad spot here. Really, the warehouse itself is not the strongest, but there's two spots on both sides of the warehouse, including the rocks that are sort of on the other side that we're not looking at, just over there, sort of you can see them next to the Harry Potter Tower, that are a really good fallback position. It's coverage on 3 different sides. So I like that EG's thinking about this. They're in a position to cause some damage if they're pushed and then have a good fallback option should they need it.
We are at a minute 45 before the next circle. You can see that it has centralized a little bit more around Yasnaya there. So we do have the Dare Rising people with their split in still a very good position. And look at everybody that's funneling in just north of Yasnaya. You can see that Evil Geniuses had to retreat back to that warehouse, so they're not holding that low ground position and that where they could potentially do a lot of damage. This has kind of become a free path for all these people in vehicles to try to push through, but they're all going to run right up next to where Nova is at. And when 100 rounds gets shot down as he's coming down through this, you can see Mr. Fuzzy HD instantly pulling off of that.
Too easy for EG. They get a nice little kill on 100 rounds. The boys have been having a little bit of trouble here as they've made their rotation. It's the second person they've lost to a rotation. Make it 3 is Don't Shoot Me is another lost casualty of this transition through the death zone. So Nova able to take over the spot EG had, and both of those teams now walk away with the free transition kill.
Evil Geniuses and Nova were just a seconding enemies just maybe 5 minutes ago, but now they're unlikely allies as anybody that drives through there just getting torn apart by every single person that comes through. You can see Outlaw starting to have some shots coming at him from Machine Gunner, gonna pull back around, realizes that, hey, we're not getting shot from this building. Everybody jumps out, and this is not necessarily the best of positions, but it's still a strong building. It does have the walls around it, so it's still capable of getting some vision out.
I don't know if you saw that. A big rescue for Outlaw came from a yellow Dacia, still rolling over there. Cover Fire and his boys lit it up because they thought there might be a driver inside, but that was the Dacia, I believe, Don't Shoot Me or Just Shoot Me was in earlier. And the Dacia just kept going when he got shot out of it. So it actually drew the fire off of Outlaw enough that he was able to pivot the Jeep and get themselves to cover.
Oh, Ben Long's found himself in some trouble in the far northern area. You can see that he ran right up next to Opic and was trying to drive away. Looks like he can manage to make it out over there. But it's just like you were talking about with that car rolling down, Stalber and Gravity coming in very big there. But we have a big fight that's breaking out. You can see that building breach is coming up right here on the plateau. Riem, looks like Check 6 are trying to make their way up there, but we've got the next Legend holding that doorway, just waiting for somebody to poke their head around that corner.
Render in a good spot, wants to watch the angle. Biz trying to get a little peek. He's going to go to the opposite side. Good usage of the smoke to cross the opening. Legend doesn't want to give himself away, though. If he does take that shot blind, he will get a hit off of it, so something he should be considering right now. He's giving them a warning. Lots of smoke here, and it looks like Check 6 is committing to really breaching in here on the guys, on these guys. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. Is this worth pushing that hard?
It could be potentially. They don't know exactly what all they could be coming into. We're seeing right now that Mr. Blown Apart is holding down a defended position. No grenades are coming out because it looks like nobody has them at the direct time. They have flashbangs in the sort, but I didn't see any frag grenades on anybody. Oh, I say that as one goes off. I guess we didn't actually catch the next Legend over there with his, but now it becomes a problem that since the grenade has gone out, they have to see how many of them are there. Peak comes around, Biz and Mr. Blown Apart caught in a little bit of a fire, but neither one really doing damage to each other. This is going to be the skirmish comes back as the next Legend is down. Mr. Blown Apart now has all pressure as everybody's just coming through. He's trying to line up the shots. He does get one of them down. Mr. Blown Apart closes the door, trying to buy time for the reload. Sneaks back around, just playing door games right now as Shadow's doing the peek around and finally manages to pick him off.
I mean, but what a fight, though. He pre-fired like a boss, got 2 knocks out of it, and it looks like he actually got the finish, I think, on one of them. So he picked up some points for his team, survived, got a little bit of pride. And Check 6, though, with a really good breach. They laid out the first shooter, had someone slide behind him, so the first shooter, they knew they'd probably lose him and he'd go down, but immediately the room was breached on a follow. So it was a really good way to sort of enter the house and clear it, unfortunately, for Render Esports.
With that, Toffees, we're down to 14 teams up and active and 48 people alive. Next circle is about to update. As you can see, Tempo Storm still right on the edges of this. I like this with Tempo. They're getting to their vehicles right as the edge is catching them, so that way they can already be moving, waiting for when the circle pops, and then instantaneously go for a new transition point. We're starting to see this become a little bit more popular, and Circle, again, staying right next to Yasnaya, Toffees.
Mm-hmm. So now's the time that you can consider going in. The little complex next to the Yasnaya, the police station, are options at this point. The mansion's got some good ways to shoot out of it. You're going to see teams start to head in that direction immediately. I expect 9 to do a little bit of a spread here if they can get to the mansion. Turtle Squad likes to do that split. You can see CCAP headed over there right now, but Nova is just going to crash hard. So they go straight in. CCAP may actually be able to catch them off guard.
There are so many squads that are just hard crashing right now. You can see that Nerf Me Please did see Peaches. They're caught in a little bit of a standoff. Peaches playing along that back wall, afraid to peek out too far there. Nova's going for the reposition, but running right back over to where another squad is entering. Both of these squads are coming at roughly the same time. You can see Pintalol is like, I don't know if we want to be a part of this. Now it looks like they might be pulling back and going over towards the hospital area instead of staying over next to the manor, the courthouse. So many names for that building.
Well, the big tall one, I'm pretty sure is a police station, right? Because there's like jail cells in there or something. That said, though, yeah. So anyway, we got Duel going up inside of it. I enjoy that building quite a bit. Nova in a pretty good spot. It's a little bit easier to snipe into there from hospital, so that will be one of their weaknesses. A lot of open windows, so if they're trying to look out the north side, they can get picked off. So they got to be pretty careful about that. That said, both those positions are going to be good depending on what the next circle does. I like the split that we're seeing coming out of Turtle Squad, I believe it is they sort of split up to make sure that they're covered on multiple fronts for whatever this circle chooses to do.
And
honestly,
now it becomes a big question on how do these guys continue to hold these specific areas? Do they retreat back? Do they regroup? You can see Peaches is still holding that forefront position, but he hears all of this fighting that's right back, right in front of him. Does the rest of the team potentially come over and transition to provide him some reinforcements? Does he retreat back? Let's just go ahead and throw a crate inside of this. And this is just one section of Yasnaya right now, Toffees. We could potentially see, let's pop back off the map real quick and see if we have anybody else that's pushing into this.
Yeah, no, that's one of those crates where I expect it to come into play in the final circle as cover. Like it's just one of those, like, everyone's gonna ignore it until the moment when it becomes insanely important.
Oh,
wow!
Blitzing that trigger. They're trying to drive through here. You can see that there is just nowhere safe for them to go. Cover fire's throwing out the shots towards them. Everybody's just hightailing out, pressing down there, trying to go as fast. The tire spins him out. Spaz is trying to make it over and through, but he's lost the tire, going so slow. Jumps out of the vehicle with near on no life. Drops to the ground, and he gets taken down.
He fell prone to prey, and it did not pan out. Nicely executed. I think Nova actually is the one that took that kill. So a great tire shot by Dare Rising to let Nova get that final finish.
That Trick is still under a lot of pressure right now. Nowhere really to go. He's playing around that ravine area there, huddling around his vehicle for some form of safety. And again, everybody's really contested around this area. We've got about 5 squads all stacked up pretty close to each other. So anybody that drives across those plains right above where Shraded's at on the map, they're just going to have so many bullets coming towards them. Looks like Optic is trying to make their way back in and around as Smeagol and crew are putting out a couple of bullets towards them. It looks like they're going to clash into that forested area just north of Mansion.
Yeah, forest area is kind of a desperation spot. It's where nothing else is available. You go in there, it's a tough place to do range fighting. Not bad, but again, getting out of it, also very difficult. A lot of teams going to be fighting inside the city, but here we got Hypoc taking some fun shots at 4 PUBG players as they're locked up inside of the house. I believe we have, what, 3 players left on Optic right now?
I think we have all 4. Yeah,
all 4. Okay, good.
They have all 4. They've been caught in a lot of skirmishes, but it was 17 that got the early kill
right.
onto Warlock. So they've been playing the edge quite a bit, but have managed to avoid most of the major skirmishes. You can see that there still is all that area just south of Yasnaya. Look at how the players are avoiding it right now. It's all open plains. It's got that hay bales area. We're going to condense down still around that eastern Yasnaya area, so that big condensation, that bad neighborhood that nobody wants to go into. Now Rush and Totality are going to have to make their way down towards, but still a lot of hay bales inside of this next circle.
Absolutely. Should be pretty interesting as the game continues to develop here. The urban warfare still very in play as we have a lot of teams stuffed into Yasnaya right now. The transitions are going to get pretty tricky. We see Punaj going down to join Purdy. Totality going to start to slide forward towards the police station that's we know is under lock and key. Rush also working their way through towards the church. So this is going to condense about 5 or 6 teams into a 100-kilometer square, basically.
And you can see right as soon as Totality drives up, they just start getting ripped to shreds as Nova catches them in a crossfire. Pony's just trying to make it back over. It looks like Taro's gotten entirely killed off there. Purdy's going to be able to crawl back over and get rezzed, but looks like Pony's just trying to get that away so he can get inside the door there.
Absolutely. I want to give him a big shout out to Nerf Me Please's placement for Nova. They put him in one of those, in sort of an off position so he could see anybody advancing from the apartments, and that's exactly what he did. So he was there, he called it, they brought Richie out to aid, and they made sure nobody could push them. That's the one angle where Totality came in that sort of leaves Nova open, and they made sure that it was locked up 100%. So really smart play by these guys.
Well, on top of that, they're also making sure to stay on the other side of those little mini garages, or I guess whatever you want to call them over there, so that way they don't get shot from everybody that's posted up right next to them. You see, everybody from Duel over here is just looking down, waiting for anybody to show their head, but they just can't get a clear line of sight. So, just like you said, solid positioning coming out from Nerf Me Please and the rest of the guys in Nova.
Very, very nice plays from Nova. But again, you know, the rest of these teams, no slouches. Best in North America, Duel up on top, trying to get those peak shots, but they have to worry because they know FlyQ has roof positions, they know Totality has snipers, and the rest of the teams are going to be moving into positions where you can get picked off on the top of police very easily. Oh man, Young Bay and 4 PUBG players make the fast rotation to a land area that can be very dangerous. But let's jump over to Master.
We have a huge fight that's breaking out right over here inside the forest area that we saw Optic come into earlier. Hetroid gets knocked down, but this has just been a bloodbath as we've seen the kill feed absolutely lighting up. Mr. Fuzzy in a lot of trouble over here. I think that he is the last person for his squad up and alive. He hasn't made it inside the circle and is going to have to follow up right back behind Optic. You can see he's prepping their grenades. He thinks that he knows. I think that he can see where their positioning is right on the crest of that hill over there. He's trying to figure out if he wants to go louder, if he wants to continue playing the sneaky snake, though. So, all up to Murderous Plush Toys and Mr. Fuzzy here. He's going to potentially be able to crawl over there. Still a little bit of forested area just off to the western side, but you can see Chex is already holding that high ground position, capable of shooting anybody. If the circle goes more western, that has to leave that forested area.
Absolutely. He'll come out. He'll probably wait till Optic engages. I'm sure he's very aware that Check 6 is in the next compound over, and once they start to fight with Optic, potentially, he'll just follow them the rest of the way. Now, Fear Me taking fire is, he ends up going down, so that's going to be Dare Rising, losing Fear Me. I think, Optic pushing towards them, wants that compound, gets a nice easy pick here. Cover Fire also in some trouble.
He has nowhere to go, just crashes into the side of the building, realizes it's occupied, slams against the wall, but he's getting shot from everywhere. Cover Fire goes down from FlyQuest off to the side there. And the Machine Gunner just runs straight in. Outlaw managed to get somebody down off of that, but he gets down as well. Easy Res should be coming out for DeCannon off of that, though. Optic still waiting off in the wings, though. They can hear all of this going down. Mr. Fuzzy right back behind him. But it looks like Hypoc managed to spot him out and gets the kill.
Tough situation for Dare falling at 12, and that did allow Mr. Fuzzy to get a 1 extra placement because he played slow. So I guess that sort of worked out for him instead of just charging at Optic. Meanwhile, the box is still in. 7 is in a pretty good spot. That's 4 PUBG players. Now, that's a little bit of a grotto. If you guys are unfamiliar with this it used to be a volcano that helped create this island. You can see the caldera right here. The guy's going to be hiding inside of it. And it gives you pretty good coverage if you stay low. The problem is it's very hard to defend because if you pop up to fight out of it, you are wide open to the police station, the mansion, and the high houses behind you.
Well, the big factor inside of the circle is all of these guys that we're looking at right now are not in the safe circle. Everybody has to make their way out. You can see FlyQuest already starting to do the push, trying to get over towards that little gatehouse area. Looks like Totality is getting caught under fire again. Let's rush off in the distance, and let's just throw a crate landing right in the middle of all of this to be a little distracting as well. We've got 12 seconds before everybody has to get out of this area, fight through this urban side, cross a street, which is a no man's land of cover, and then push into the hay bales or the hillside. This is going to get bloody real fast.
Absolutely. It looked like Purdy may have left the AWM behind, thinking it's not necessary to have the big sniper rifle at this stage of the game. He knows he's going to be fighting basically house to house going forward. Rush, taking to the field. Samurai and the rest of FlyQ actually in the boxes, but Blue goes down, and Samurai's got to think about, do I go for the res or I put myself against the 5 teams shooting me from all sides?
He's not even safe. He's still not even in the same circle, so they took this position trying to catch people, and instead the trap has been reversed. There are 3 different squads just firing into them right now. He can't even figure out a way to get out of this, let alone stand up. There's nowhere for him to come out of this, but the whole time that everybody's caught up trying to shoot at them, they're going to get caught up in the blue. They have to move. This is ending up mutually assured destruction for all of these squads as they just can't pull themselves away from each other safely. As you can see down here, look, Nova Richie trying to pull back out. Pentalol still holding this high ground position. It's like he's kind of surrendered. He's like, okay, guys, I'm your sight. I will let you know what's going on. And look at that. We already see one person getting taken down as Willie has gotten knocked. Richie's still doing ring around there, trying to get his line of sight up towards Penta. You can see Nerfing Please having to retreat back. Pentalol is just holding back a full squad. As you can see, the blue is slowly creeping in. Now Landoon also trapped up there.
He's going to have to make the jump down. If you can go to the wall, you don't take the damage. Didn't make the wall jump. He's going to have to go inside. Tough push here for the guys. Pentalol already hurting, just barely trying to stay ahead of the blue. The tick is going to be strong with this one. K-Mine does get the res off, and the push is on. Nova immediately lights him up. K-Mine dropping low. Landoom goes down. It looks like Richie has a position as Wolf, Young Bay, and the 4 PUBG players are going to try to hold the back, and now the guys have nothing but a rock and a Bahawaka, sort of just hiding in the grass, waiting for a chance to try to hit him from behind. Wolf pushing, though.
I think that Baja is all by his lonesome now. We can see, I don't see any other teammates around him. Looks like, yes, we had a skirmish that happened over here that dropped Optic down to just 1 member. So he's going to try to play this as quiet as he can. Next circle comes up. Do Sitter inside of this one. You can see everybody firing off in the distance. Our very quiet team, Tempo Storms, that have been playing in that blue for a little while, came in late. Still 4-man strong. They're on the other side of this, and they have a line of sight on everybody, and they're going very loud at this point. They're just trying to inflict what damage they can. As you can see, Richie's just trying to play for some form of safety, but he's got 2 different squads around him right now.
It looks like they've been doing some I mean, Tempo is definitely playing this slowish. They're making some good rotations. They've sort of kept out of the trouble, and now they're in a really great position to sort of see what's in front of them and be able to sort of manage the road crossing here. Their only threat really is going to be the guys coming out of the houses to their right. So I'm curious to see how they choose to make this push, but they've been playing a very strong game so far.
And now it's almost a game of chicken on who ends up trying to push first, who reveals themselves, who's going to end up taking the shots off of it. You know that Richie's very nervous off to the side as he's hearing all of these long-distance shots going back and forth at these squads, and he knows he's caught in the middle between it. UAZs are getting loaded up. Looks like we might see a potential vehicle fort coming into play here, or at least just trying to crash into some tree, some form of cover to make some type of wall. Baja is still up and alive back over there. You can see him sneaking back behind everybody, but looks like Maluk went a little bit too far, ended up right in the sights of Check 6, but he did manage to find a locked position around.
Who's willing to take the risk? It's me, Luke. That's what he says. All right, he gets in the US, goes up there, gets the rock fort underway. It's actually in a pretty good position inside the circle. He knows that the left push is wide open, so it's going to be hard for them to come from that angle, and it's high enough that the people in the houses can't get easy shots on them, so they're in a pretty good position.
Look at this, Richie! He manages to get the knock on one. He's all caught over here by his lonesome. They know where he's at. He does get taken down for it, but that knock could be influential. As you can see, Schaefer is now down. Everybody's just trying to crawl in front of the blue. It's slowly creeping up. Remember, we are playing with competitive, so they could potentially have a chance to get everything up in res, throwing out the smokes to try to buy that extra little bit of cover. But this allowed Tempo to get into their positions that you know that they were trying to get to. And the whole time, Baja's over here. You can see Check 6 still holding that high ground spot, but Baja now knows he's pincered off as well. As you can see off in the distance, there's Tempo Storm. He hasn't made it into safety yet, but off to his right side is going to be 4 PUBG players. And by the way, that's the name of their team. Yeah. We're not just calling them 4 PUBG players, so just everybody knows.
So look, I like how Baja's playing this low and slow, letting them take the fights in his position. So that's going to be great. Wolf goes down. Schaefer goes down. Young Bay, the last man standing for 4 PUBG players, and he will get finished off. Valiant, your boy Dre, cleaning everyone up, and Baja Waka did get the knock on Young Bay. So now we got Tempo with 4, very comfortable, 3 teams left. Baja Waka is alone playing spoiler, but I think Dre may be able to spot him. And of course, Check 6 still with 3 coming down the hill.
It's all about how this next circle updates. Where are we going to end up going to? There's not a lot of cover really left. You can see that Check 6 still playing this high ground position, but they're under a lot of fire from the 4-man squad of Tempo Storm right now. Baja is being really quiet over there. You can see a down now coming out over on Jakenoff. That could be a little bit of trouble, and the circle goes over towards Tempo. This is going to be so much pressure for Check 6.
Absolutely. No, Tempo's in a really good spot. This is officially their game to lose. As he now goes head-to-head, Shadow and Baja Waka decide to fight it out. You know what? Tempo's going to be very happy about that. That did reveal Baja's position as well, so now Tempo knows exactly where he is and can take shots at him, as they will do. That'll eliminate him, bringing it down to 2 teams in a 4v3.
38 seconds before the circle has to push in. Everybody knows what they're working against right now. You can see Tempo Storm lined up behind their pieces of cover, just waiting. It's all going to be about how Check 6 tries to play this. Biz taking so much damage. He does get knocked, trying to make it back behind the safety of the car that just recently exploded. Trying to get this res up. You can see Shadow's now taking a lot of damage. There's still all the windows on that vehicle, so there's just nowhere to really go. These guys are going to have to make their way out. They have to hit some type of shot to relieve this pressure. The whole time, look, Ben Q5, your boy Trey pushing out. Tempo Storm separating out, getting as much control over this next safe circle as they can. But look at this. It's just Tempo hitting shot after shot. Check 6 is just pinned back there.
There's so much pressure, they need an emergency tracheotomy to get out of this one, because Valiant and the boys have spread out on 4 sides. They see everything that Check 6 does and end it with a beautiful shot from Valiant. Man, Tempo was on fire.
Tempo did a great job that time around, coming out with 9 kills. Back of your boy Dre netting 5, all things considered. Not too shabby. Following that up is going to be Check 6 with a solid 6 kills of their own. Optic coming in 3rd place with a strong, look at that. Is that going to be 11 kills? They were definitely making a bloodbath of that forest area. Following up right behind that, we've got Schaefer, Wolf, Smeagol, and Young Bay coming in with a very solid, 8 kills of their own, and then right behind that's going to be Nova coming in with 6 kills. So with this, we were talking about how everybody was going to really be fighting for their points, trying to make use of this last day. Tempo has kind of been quiet the past couple of weeks. This is a very strong performance from them, so I'm really excited to see how this might shake up the leaderboards moving forward. But Toffees, we still have several more rounds to go, so we're going to go ahead and kick it to our guys back over at the analyst desk. Jabroni Bro, Mustache Dave, you guys take it away.
Thank you very much. Game 1 ends, and it is Tempo Storm looking good. All 4 players still alive. They're grabbing 9 kills. They're holding position. They're being very patient. They look great in that game, Dave.
What a game number 1 that we just had here tonight. And honestly, I think this is kind of what we should expect for today, as it is the last day for most of these squads to actually make it top 16. I mean, Tempo Storm going into this game, number 11 on leaderboards, but their positioning, their kills, phenomenal. But let's rewind just a little bit right there. Really, where it went from 0 to 100, when we had about 5 squads in Yasnaya, all forced to push out, 0 to 100. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Dave,
what are your thoughts? Yeah,
I actually have a question about that. I want to get your opinion. I have an opinion of my own. A lot of teams, now we had the zone in the Stalber area on the northeast side, right? It was a huge zone, a lot of playable area. A lot of teams went north up to Stalber because that was pretty much center circle. So they went up towards the hill, up towards those compounds, to a little bit to the west, whatever. And then that zone went south. And all these teams just gunned it for Yasnaya. And it was like in 30 seconds, you went from 0 or just one team in Yasnaya to like 5 or 6. And it was just this huge population. And as we all know, for anyone that keeps up with competitive PUBG, one of the worst places you can possibly be in a game of PUBG is in a city when the circle leaves it. Because it is just everyone's in the same corner of the city trying to leave across the same road. And that's what we saw there. So many different squads just getting in so much trouble. And we went from like 11 teams to 5. I know the in and out of focus. Dave's like looking at it. Don't move, Dave.
I'm listening, though. I'm listening. Don't worry, I'm listening.
So I wanted your opinion on those teams, like, and their movement. Like, what are you supposed to do in that situation? Is going to Yasnaya and fighting it out the play? Like, how do you play around that?
I mean, honestly, in my opinion, of course, there's just really no way of telling where these circles are going to end up going. Right. So you're in your scenario, you're in the city, you're feeling good, you're looking good, you get your compound, maybe even a 2-2 split going. You're getting all the vision you can. Next thing you know, like you said, circle, bam, not in your favor. And not only that, you have to actually push with 5 other squads. I mean, they knew that Yasnaya, section was jam-packed. I mean, Totality found out real early as they had to push a little further east because the Yasnaya was in a couple circles. So Totality had to push a little further east, almost immediately losing Taro right off the bat because Nova was dominating. But yeah, to be forced to push out Yasnaya, and not only that, to have Tempo Storm, Check 6, 4 PUBG players, and Optic all looking that way at you. I mean, we have to commend Richie. Richie was the only survivor.
Absolutely. The only survivor coming out of Yasnaya. And that's
important.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Great
because
minds,
Nova
Dave.
is 22. Nova's number 22 on the current leaderboard going into this game. So being able to complete this game, 5th place with 6 kills, very important. Very important for Nova.
So now that you bring that up, let me just break that down for everyone. I rushed it in the beginning because we had such a short desk coming in here to game number 1. So I'm going to kind of break this down for everyone just to explain exactly how this week works for PUBG Online and moving forward. So this is week 6 of split number 1. Throughout this split, 40 teams have competed in 20 games each. We've rotated the lobbies. We've switched who they were playing with. Everybody has the same amount of games played, though. So what happens is we're going to look at the leaderboard of these 40 teams, and the top 16 teams will move into Showdown for split number 2 and compete for their share of $20,000. This happens both for NA and EU, $20,000 per region. Now, this is still split 1. So if you think, you're these teams at the top, what do you have to play for? You're already in Showdown. No. There's $5,000 up for grabs right now. And for split number 1, there's $5,000 for NA, $5,000 for EU. So right now, the top 3 teams, the team in first place will get $3,000, team in second $1,500, and the team in third will get $500. So it's a lot of competition at the top, and then it's a lot of competition to get those top 16. So it was very important. We talk about Nova there. They were 22nd coming into tonight. What they'll do is they'll get as many points as they possibly can. And then we have our second lobby tomorrow. So it's one of those positions where these teams here tonight, they want every point they could possibly get, and then they're going to be sitting there crossing their fingers tomorrow, praying that nobody passes them or pushes them down out of the top 16. So it's a lot of exciting stuff. So.
Lot of exciting stuff. I mean, just to add to that, I mean, yes, you want top 3, but honestly, that's just a taste. That's a taste of the money. You really want to get top 16. I mean, you want to make it to the second split because, I mean, if you're in it for the money, that's where the money's at. That's where the cash money's at. So, I mean, it's an added bonus. It's an added bonus.
It is. It is. And right now, actually, we do have our promotionals from our Open Series going on.
Ooh,
so we're adding 8 more teams to Contenders. So Contenders will be 32 teams. Showdown will be 16. And right now, our Open teams are actually playing at the same time. These games are going on to figure out who those 8 teams will be. Now, Dave.
Amazing.
I have something to ask you. The legend of Baja Waka. Okay?
Okay.
I want somebody in chat at some point in time, if you have time, to go back to Split 1 of Season 1 of PUBG Online and look for how many games Baja Waka has been the last player alive for Optic and how many placements he has gained them. Because I don't know what it is about this, dude. I don't know what it is. But it seems like every time there's one player left, it's Baja. And you're like, all right, well, there's 8 teams left. Baja's all alone. He'll get 6th, 5th. You know, it'll be great. And he gets 2nd. He gets 2nd. He gets 2nd. He gets 3rd. Like, I don't know what it is. But he's sitting right here like he's in terrible position. Like, how do you come out of this in 3rd place? And he gets the kill on Youngbei. He cleans up 4 PUBG players. And he's able to turn that into a 3rd place. Optic with 11 kills and a third place. That's huge. But Tempo, man, it was Tempo's game, and I think they deserve a lot of praise. They were patient. You know, we didn't have the camera on them. They didn't have all the spotlight the whole time.
No pressure.
No, they're just playing their game, man. They're just hanging out, playing how Tempo does, and that's great to see. So
what was your question?
Well, No. There was no question when it came to the legend.
Oh, it was a statement
Baja Waka.
about Baja Waka.
Yeah, I may have said there was a question, but then
I got a question for you.
Well, Dave,
okay,
I like.
Statement. Okay.
To me, and it feels like it happens all the time. Like, do you feel the same way? Because I know you're on NA like almost all the time. It's like
yeah.
I see Baja there. Yeah, born and raised NA. You know, North America. Obviously, there's something about Baja that he just keeps doing it.
I mean, I don't want to say just Baja. I feel like it's either Baja or 17.
Sure.
That's always the last kind of solo member. And once when that happens with Optic, they go into solo member mode. You kind of don't see them for a couple minutes, and the next thing you know, top 4, there they are once again, snaking their way in, getting at as many frags as possible because they're not only snaking their way in, they're also getting the frags when they're available. So I mean, we tend to see these insurance policies. They're quiet, you know. They're super sneaky. They even take off their backpack. They take off their bag. No one knows where they're at. Then they just pop up and maybe get the last guy. But that's not how Optic goes into this kind of solo member mode. You know, they get the frags and they're sneaky. So they're in their own league for sure. But that's how you get to second place on this leaderboard with 835 points altogether as of right now, not including this game. But they get 70.6 points per game. I mean, that's a lot of points. That's a lot of points for sure. So, and that's just one of the ways that they get it. I mean, just by making sure that they get the placements. Yeah. It's all about placements.
Absolutely.
What are you looking at?
Okay. I'm checking out production. I got a little birdie talking in my ear here. They're setting up the lobby. And,
bring me some coffee. Bring me some coffee production. Let's go.
All right, so Dave, I'm going to read a couple teams to you here, okay? These are teams that I would say are on the cusp, okay? So we have 4 PUBG players. They had a great first game. Duel, not so much. Turtle Squad, not so much. Render, 15th last game. So those 4 teams are between 12th place and 18th place, okay? And then on top of that, we have Nova and Check 6, 22nd and 26th. And then maybe Rush would be able to do it at the end. And here we see right now, this is Render going out early. Mr. Blown Apart did a great job here.
Phenomenal job. You know, right there getting a couple shots right off the bat. I mean, the next legend going down almost immediately, definitely putting Render at a disadvantage with this 2v4 push. But right there, getting him. Did he get the kill secure? Yes, he did. There's a couple points right there. Right here, though, closing the door so he can reload. I'm loving it. And then firing through the door. Oh, but then Shadow let him unload his whole entire clip. And then Shadow's like, hey, pop, 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 pop. And that was it. That was it for them. But that wasn't the end of it. You know, they still had, I believe, a member up somewhere. I don't recall where. or was that the end of it?
No. That was the end of Render. That was Render getting last place in that game, and that's what's so important. They're sitting in 18th. Render's the team. You know, they've been playing very well. Mr. Bonaparte and squad. They've been fairly consistent. And so my question for you is: 4 PUBG players, Duel, Turtle Squad, Render, Check 6, Nova. What team or what teams can pull this off? Only 2 of those teams are in the top 16 right now, and that's Duel and 4 PUBG players. Can any of these other ones get up there and secure a spot, or do you think it's going to be no one's safe?
It's really tough. I mean, those teams that are at the bottom of the top 16 tonight, I mean, they have to perform out of their minds. They have to get as many points as possible. And then, like you said at the very beginning, just hope and pray that the teams around them in the same kind of bracket field, they pretty much poop the bed tomorrow night, to say it any better. Poop the bed, because I mean
that's what we need them to do, man.
They're gonna lose sleep. They're gonna lose sleep tonight because they still have the teams tomorrow coming in thinking the same thing. How do we get up? How do we get the upper hand? How do we get the upper hand? So honestly, they need some strong games. We got 3 more left here. I'll let you wrap this one up. But hey, nice desk. You're looking good.
You're the absolute best. So yeah, there are only 3 games left for these teams playing tonight. Tomorrow, the fate of their advancement will no longer be in their hands. They need to get every point they possibly can. So we listed a few teams to keep an eye out for in chat. Those are the teams on the cusp right there. Could potentially get into shutdown. But it is time for game number 2. So let's kick it right in game right now with Matchroom and Toffees.
And hello, everybody. After a quick hello to Jabroni there, we are coming back into Game 2 with the airplane up and active. My name is Matchroom. I'll be one of your in-game casters for this round, and I'm being joined by the one and only Toffees. You ready to get this underway?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm not ready for is this plane. So the first one was about, 600, 700 meters north of this one. This one's even harder for the players. We'll see if the game decides to make the game tough for them again by giving them another polar opposite circle, which is what we saw last time. Should be pretty interesting. But really, let's talk briefly about why these planes are so difficult. There's a big vacuum, right? Like everyone's going to start looking for cars around Pachinki, maybe school long jumps, Milta, the road there south between Milta and Pachinki, and there's just not enough vehicles for everyone. So inevitably people will be stuck share looting or fighting early potentially.
Also, one of the things to note is since there's so little potential area that you can land in with the amount of people that you have, it makes it really hard to choose a specific job. So whenever you commit to a location, like right now you can see that around the Georgetown area, naturally we know one group will pick South George, one group will pick North George. But specifically like over Pachinki, you can see a lot of these people are all end up congested on top of each other, and there's not a lot of territory to separate out into. So it means that really, like you were talking about, having to drop and acquire one of those vehicles and get to a different position so that way you could potentially loot becomes really influential. Also, one thing we should probably talk about is we don't see a lot of military base play happen inside of competitive PUBG. Specifically, you might see somebody go Novo, and you might see somebody go military base proper. But really, it's not contested like it is in matchmaking where people just nosedive and they're like, "Yo, fight me a military base" kind of thing. Everybody wants to try to survive for as long as possible. So we don't, and it's kind of a risky spot to go to because you have potential bridge camps waiting for you and stuff like that. So it doesn't get as much play. That's how come you're seeing so many people opt into going up towards Arangel itself and going over there. But it's not cruel, but it's kind of separated off from where the pain path was. I think that I'm just cursed, Toffees. Anywhere that this circle goes to, we're going to see a mean plane. Like the past, I want to say 10 times I've cast, it's just been cruel pain paths to circles over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, basically anybody who is jumping in sort of that Milta car range is going to be happy with what ended up popping out. The guys from North George, South George, you know what? It's not that bad of a rotation for them, and they got to long jump, so they'll have the time looting to feel comfortable with this transition. It's not the end of the world. It also leaves a little extra space for our military and Novo teams to seek out some boats, transition on their terms, and sort of having to make a fast push across the bridge. Now, jumping over to Razak, looks like we've got...
These guys that haven't landed yet, and they're coming in with so much damage. Look at that. They're just coming right down. Is the cannon going to make it over? He does, just barely. This squad was getting shot from 2 different groups on descent. We talked about beforehand about committing. Whenever you see all those areas that end up getting taken and you go, where do I go? Where do I go? And you keep pulling back and forth, you end up with a very late drop like this.
Yeah, DeCannon rapidly became the target dummy as you come down, pull a little bit too early, and that's what happens. Trigger was lucky enough to get an M16 and blitz a Scar as soon as they hit the ground, so they open fire. Spaz now with the UMP. This is going to potentially be an early fight. There's not a ton of loot, so the only option that Don't Shoot Me and the rest of the guys from Turtle have is to fade away towards that opposite bridge on the east side, if that's what they want to do, if they don't want to fight this. And, you know, honestly, you're late to the game. You know that right now you're not going to get any of the other quadrants. You know that the guys from Grunto probably control 3/4 of this town, so looting backwards towards the escape bridge is probably their best option. The problem, Matchroom, is you have to go uphill in this next transition and expose yourself to some pretty easy pickoffs. Outlaw going to take that risk right away.
I might as well just rip the Band-Aid off, try to go for it as quick as you can while everybody else is caught up in the looting. One of these things that can happen is if you end up caught in a very protracted fight at this stage, neither one of the squads can really get a chance to loot. And so that's why everybody's trying to disengage as fast as they can, just trying to pull out. Sure, it's better to not get loot now and go try to find somewhere. Because remember, we saw a really cruel plane path. Everything off in that northeastern area should be pretty up and available, as you can see on the map. These guys know that, and they know that they want to separate out. Yasnaya, again, not too popular of a drop, just again, probably due to the way the plane path comes through. So you start having this mind game of where do I go to potentially get loot, as it looks like Peaches does manage to secure a vehicle for his squad and maybe the escape route out.
Yeah, worth noting, I like EG's got a very good spread entirely inside the circle, so they've got some good locations. Tempo Storm just outside the circle. They have all of the Gaka spread to themselves. They usually thrive when they don't get pushed early and have the chance to sort of manage their own rotation, so that's good for them. And also Totality, a little bit out of their normal area, hitting a really good spread down here along the coastline, a couple of really good loot spots, and also control on the circle, so everyone can sort of collapse on Taro and be in a good spot to see where the circles establish themselves as this game moves forward. So those are the teams that I think are in really good spots starting out. Speaking of good spots, Care Package dropping right on top of the guys from Duel.
Look at this. Wooly got to be feeling really good. And 249 can be popular with pro players. We don't see, like, it tends to be a flavor. Some people like to use it, some people don't. So we're going to pull back off. Did we actually see him pick it up, or did he leave it? I'm kind of curious. Looks like he did actually pick it up, so Wooly's going to opt into that. It can be a little bit hard for long-range fights, but if you use it kind of like as a replacement for an AK or an SMG or something like that for just spraying down somebody, it's super good. So with this, Wooly, I mean, look at this. They got Pachinki to themselves and a crate drop right next to them. That's just the life if you're a competitive player.
It is Christmas for them in Pachinki. Probably the happiest the people of Pachinki have ever been, based on the way that the city seems to have been obliterated and covered in bullet holes. That said, Duel in a pretty good spot. Like you said, Care Package, they're going to be pretty happy on the rotation. Problem is, I think if they don't move soon, they could catch themselves in a tough spot. Pachinki is not the easiest place to rotate out of, and a lot of the positions just to the east of Pachinki are going to be occupied relatively quickly here. I would say in the next minute or two, we're going to see teams start to crash those. You can already see 100 rounds making his way over there.
Look at that. Right as you call it, you can already see 100 rounds coming back over through. A little bit of a skirmish coming back over here as we're popping in with Lush, who had a kind of rough early game last time. We saw him getting bounced around all over the place. Looks like he's trying to get some vengeance back over towards Totality, but they managed to get to some level of safety, stop their vehicle, and are now popping out and potentially coming up towards him. He's all on his lonesome right now, but naturally Totality guys don't know that, so that's why they're playing pretty safe down there. Looks like they're going to hop back in their vehicle, potentially try to retreat back out a little bit, as Smithy's going to provide a little bit of cover fire for his teammate.
All right, now Lush uphill, pretty good spot for them. I'm trying to think, like, who's really going to... Okay, so I think we might have some trouble for the teams coming off of Military Island, potentially. It looks like there might be a trap getting set up, potentially, by 4 PUBG players. That said, EG going to take shots at Outlaws. They try to make a transition. EG has been the kings of sort of transition stopping here in Game 1. I wonder if this is their way of really trying to push themselves up towards that top 16 as aggressively as possible. Get those picks, get those points.
They can hit the shots, get the kills onto it. It's a solid way to, one, move up the rankings, and additionally get those kill points, man. Those can end up stacking up if you manage to net enough of them. Looks like Evil Geniuses, they do have themselves a fairly nice pavilion that they can play off of at the direct time. Now, one of the things we should note is we can see that Wolf and 100 rounds, these two different squads have kind of posted up next to each other. A lot of fire now coming onto Shredded, and that's going to be the guys from Dare. The other half of the Dare is actually positioned down off still in Milta. They haven't pushed up. We're starting to see Dare do that split that we were talking about in game 1 fairly regularly. There is some safety in kind of splitting apart because naturally if you get crashed up on, you can only potentially lose 2 members. But the downside of it is you're always a little bit weak. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this plays out.
Absolutely. The split, especially at this stage, is a little bit rough for me because people are crashing houses right now trying to gain them. And in 2v4, we saw last time with Render, it just is very difficult to win out if that team commits to pushing you. Once upon a time, you could have one guy hold a house and scare a team away in a car by shooting at them. But a lot of these teams have evolved to the point where they are now listening for how many shooters are targeting their car and making crash calls based on if they can count the amount of active shooters. If it's less than 3, they'll generally try to take the compound.
One of the things I want to talk about is the positioning that we're seeing from Murderous Plush Toys right here. This little road that goes across the top of this area is really, really influential in transitions. If you can hold this, and if the circle ends up favoring you or at least putting you in a position where people are going to have to drive by you, you can net so many different kills over here. You can see a lot of teams have gotten to a point where they just specifically avoid this section of the map. But if the circle does end up popping just right, you can put you in such a good position to just murder squad after squad as they have to transition into this area.
There's no better feeling than when it pops just right. So all of these teams are going to be hoping for that as they sort of wait for the right time. And that's important. You want to wait for the right moment, see where the circle is going to give you, and then play it out. But again, you've got a nice little split here. I mean, this is a different kind of split. This is a burn players down as a transition split by Murderous Plush Toys. Just opposite sides of the road.
Uh-oh.
Easy finish on anybody who drives by.
DeCannon in some trouble here. You can see that he's hiding out in the shade of a wall. Everybody from FlyQuest coming up and forward. Look at the sneaky play coming up from Samurai, but he doesn't see DeCannon. But oh, something does and just destroys him there, saving Samurai's life. That's the benefit of kind of hiding out in the shade. Makes it a little bit harder because you know that angle was just, you could tell. DeCannon was looking up. He's like, do I do it? Do I do
it?
No,
yeah.
I'm gonna try to be sneaky, and then just gets shot right then and there.
Tough game for DeCannon, okay? From being shot on landing to being caught by a weird wall peak, he has just had a rough go of things. So DeCannon, if you're listening, I understand your pain. Shake it off. Come back in the next one.
We've all been there before where it seems like no matter where you go, there's just somebody waiting. And look at this nice teamwork coming over here from Optic, retreating back, or pulling back over here, picking up your teammate, going on a nice leisurely drive. We're seeing Optic position out actually ahead of the blue. I think that actually all teams are moving ahead of the blue this time around. I know that we had Tempo last time that tanked it for just a second, but looks like everybody's actually going to be ahead of it with Optic being the tail end of that. And yes, look at this. Everybody is in a nice position. Check 6 coming through there. You can see Totality posting up around the coast, and we do have Tempo Storm also playing around the coast in those barn areas, but looks like Blizz in a little bit of trouble there as Totality is absolutely lighting him up. Couldn't make it to the safety of the tree, and that could be all she wrote for him because I don't think anybody else from Check 6 can easily make it over there to him. And actually, you don't want to push into Totality.
No, Biz will be left behind here. Totality just is able to take him out. Easy kill for them. Great position and a nice ambush there on Check 6 as they're just trying to make it to shore.
Now it's all, you can see that Totality is trying to post up for this. Reem looks like he might be thinking about it. A couple of bullets are coming back over towards Smithy. Just trying to make sure that nobody goes for it. Now here comes the problem. You can tell that they're trying to look out because sometimes somebody can try to come up and steal your kill whenever somebody repositions behind the tree like that. And looks like they're going to go, and they're taking the Dacia up and around. Smithy pulls back off and away from that. Did he manage to discourage him back?
No, he's going. It's the power of friendship. Leave no man behind. Purdy goes, I can't believe they're doing this. Tries to go for some peeks. They've got decent overlook coming from Jaken off. And there it is. So he tries to slip in there. He's going for the res now. It costs him everything.
That's the risk. When you go for it now, they've got double trouble that's going on. And this is just 2 members of Totality posted up. At this point, you got to cut your losses. The smokes are down.
No, rerun. If a real friend would go right now and get that res, okay? Show your true friendship, Riam and Jagganoff. Go get him. Go get him, Jake.
No, I will be the angel on their shoulder right now and be like, no, play for points. This is your last day. You can't afford that risk. I can see sending 1 member for it. Maybe you can get transition over there. And they almost got it, to be honest.
Points are fleeting. Friendship is forever. I'm just saying. That, you
say that, but I've seen the way these rosters have been switching up all over the place. So surely this Dacia is just going to go out and away. Don't do it. Oh, look at Shadow crawling out. Be like, fine, I'll crawl out. Get a little bit more information there, coming out and away, and being a little bit of a distraction. That's why he kind of crawled out there, so that way nobody would be firing at Riam as he made his escape. Next circle is up, and it's going to be positioned just a little bit to the southwest of Prison. And uh-oh, look at this. We can see Murder's Plush Toys in a lot of trouble running right into Nova as they're having to pull back down away. Major NL on Nero on no life, 100 rounds down on the ground. Major NL popping back out. Looks like he's going to try to med up. Is he potentially going to try to go for this res? It's super risky, and we saw the risk of it just a second ago. But look at this. There's a squad coming up right back behind Major. He was in the process of healing. They don't see him. He's pulling out and around. Are they going to run right up into Nova as well? No real shots are coming out towards him. Finally, everything unloads, and they reposition out. They're trying to run back down this hillside. As you can see, Lockman is trying to get some type of line of sight, trading back down, and it does look like FlyQuest managed to make it back behind those rocks. But then just down the hill from them, look at this. Everybody is just getting knocked down and taken out in these fights. We got Master Nook doing a hard push up over Turks of the Sniper Tower, and that's going to be all she wrote as Peaches goes down with Z-Watch pushing it.
Not too shabby. Lots of good fighting going on here on the hills, and including a package arriving with the MK14 and the suppressor, so at least a little bit of fun, but not a game-breaking package.
At this point, they might not have seen it. There are going to be several squads that are coming up back behind. As you can see, Mr. Blown Apart and the Optic guys, they might catch vision on that package and want to get something with it. Totality is still separated out. Don't shoot me. He's way up there in the north, slowly making his progression back down. Look at that. We've got that trigger. Are they vehicleless? Is that why they're making that? They are crossing on foot at this point. That's a rough life to be in for that squad. They're just having to hot-foot it all the way into the circle.
All right, I am going to turn it over to you for a second while I fix this mic issue that's been plaguing us.
Okay, so with this, guys, let's do a quick look up. As we can see, everybody is fairly positioned. It's going to be the Optic guys coming up on the backside of that road over there, but a little bit of fights going on now between FlyQuest. Looks like Optic could be running right up into this fight. They're actually going to pull out and away. I don't think that they saw that crate that we were talking about before, and this tends to be a very popular spot, specifically playing in these rock faces on the outside of Prison/Crater. So that way you can kind of get some different vision points, and you can see that there's tons of little dips that you can hide down into. Off in the distance, they do see FlyQuest going for the reposition. Trying to line up the shots, coming in. A couple of them are connecting. Look at how fast that health bar is going down. You can see trying to get the cover. Can't quite do it. Finally, some bullets are returning back. Going to force Hypoc to retreat a little bit. Rez is going to be trying to go out over there. It's going to be a hard push up the side of this. I don't think that they're going to be able to get up there in time. I think that should be a fairly safe Rez to come out. Just trying to get some type of line of sight. You got Evil Geniuses still post up down there at the bottom of it. And yeah, that's going to be a fairly safe res as the smokes do come out onto it. Still a little bit of a risk as look at this. Baja now turns his vision back down. They were going for the crate. The temptation was too great for him. Master Nook's running as everything is exploding around him. Bullets connecting into his back as he's just trying to run, having to leave his friend behind. Look at Watts back over there. That's 2 pan deflections. Master Nook is saved by the pan. He has to retreat to the little tree, trying to heal up. Z-Watts is just trying to crawl out and away. The health does manage to pop up, and that's it. Master Nook's just running. Does he manage to make it around the hillside? And can't make it to his friend, but can make it to his loot and decides, nope, I don't want any more bullets. I'm just going to go right now.
Pan MVP, though, as Master Nook runs off. Took a partner, lost a partner. That care package or that airdrop just ends up being a huge bait for Optic. Love it every moment of it. FlyQ got out of town very, very quickly. Nova in a pretty good spot as FlyQ tries to collapse down Samurai, who's reserved a good position for them inside the central position on the map. Look at the spread here for Dare Rising. What do you think about that?
Could be interesting the way they play off, and with the circle coming in, that's got to feel really good for Dare Rising. That's going to be Squad 14 with the machine gunner you can see posted up there. They're in a position. Oh, the slow motion runaway. Just look at all the bullets coming out. Deflect. You see that? He turned back around at the very last second to get the pan deflection on it. Otherwise, it would have caught him in the gut. Now we're popping back over here with the Wizard Tower, the Sniper Tower, the Harry Potter Tower. These things have a bazillion names. We have 2 squads posted up less than 100 meters away from each other.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the nature of this circle in general. As it collapses, there's not a ton of great spots as you can move towards logging camp. Whoa! K-Mine opening fire. There's the knock. They actually managed to get somebody out of the car as the transition came. We asked about that Dare Rising split, and they did force to move together as 4, and they cost them a person as they made that transition.
And they still haven't firmly connected yet as they can come back over there. It looks like finally we were starting to see, yeah, they had to have them stop back over there. Finally, he did manage to make it over there through the bullets. 49 people up and alive now. This next circle is going to be pretty interesting the way that it plays out. We kind of have like a little mini Stolber circle with the way everything's playing. Is everybody is predominantly on the western side of this hill near Lumberyard. See, Optic has pushed forward 2 members up there. But now everybody's coming through as 100 rounds gets the knock onto Master Nook. He was trying so hard to survive, but the pan couldn't get him that time. Managed to get taken down. So with this, you can see everybody is just trying to get into some form of position play. There's not a lot of different pieces that can be played. Nick's Legend and Mr. Blown Apart actually opting to go all the way around over toward Milta. This is kind of a smart play. They have to know that everybody's going to be playing more towards the western side just due to how everybody's being forced to collapse in together. I always really like to see these really nice, smart rotations as everybody comes out and around into a safer spot.
Yep, so Ren are going to be playing the edge. They got a nice little spot here. They're going to grab that garage, I would presume. Get in there, make sure they can figure out where their threats are coming from, and get settled in. So 590 points for this team. They're not in a bad position, not in a great position. They'd love to get a little more padding here as they go forward. So they hopefully get some kills. The problem with the edge play for me matchup is that you're not racking up a ton of kills. Render's at 18 right now, okay? So they need to pick up 2 spots during play today on the overall rankings. And I think they need to be a little more aggressive.
Totality is coming in strong and fast, but they are being caught up from every single angle as they try to come through. Look at that trigger and Blitz getting taken down. We can see Warlock barely managing to stay alive, but he's got somebody right up above him. You can see he's just peeking up there, trying to go for the grenade. It's going to land right there. Trying to go over, potentially get to his friends, but there's just bullets coming from everywhere. Warlock is so under fire, he can't even get over towards Blitz as a grenade comes down and takes them both down. That's going to be all she wrote for Warlock, but there is still a member up and alive somewhere off in the distance. So
well, they say the 3-seater bike's a death trap, but I don't think they meant in those terms. All 3 of them go down. Beautifully done. Now let's jump over to the guys from Totality in another fight. Totality's been like banging all day today, man. Fight after fight after fight.
They are caught up in between 3 different squads. You can see Murder's Plush Toys does have the high ground position, firing down into him. Pwnage is off to the side. They already have 2 members down from Murder's Plush Toys, so it's all at 100 rounds to hold these angles up here. Nobody's going to probably be able to get down towards that res, but he can see everybody that's repositioning out. He does manage to line up sights onto Smithy. Half damage already inflicted on Smithy. He instantly retreats back over, drops back down behind the hill. See, off in the distance, though, there is Spaz TV that could play something off the back of this. Pwnage is trying to come up from the other side of this. You can see bullets are coming out. Another Pan deflection coming through. Pan is going to be MVP of this round as 100 rounds gets dropped. And so now it's all onto Major. He's got 3 teammates down in front of him. He knows it's going to be a 4-man squad coming in. They did manage to get 1 down onto it, but the res should be coming here relatively quickly. Just trying to hold the angle and goes for the peak, and that's going to be all she wrote as Pwnage managed to get the kill onto that.
Yeah, Roundsman just managed to get a trade, but when you're 4v2, like what can the trade's not going to get you the win there, unfortunately. So they're knocked out. Meanwhile, the circle will start to continue to close here. We got, looks like Evil Geniuses coming around the outside where they lost some players early on too. So they're trying to find an edge to get themselves in. Optic with the lumber camp spread. Interesting. So they've got a big area to hold down. And then we got Tempo trying to find their way past Rush. And that should be interesting to see how they accomplish this goal. They know Rush is between them and safety. But the problem is after Rush, it's just a series of teams waiting to take them out if they manage to get by here.
And so many different teams have full sight lines down the hill. Sure, the trees can block different sections of it, but as you're pushing in there, you can end up with so many squads having line of sight, and there's not a lot of good cover pieces to play as you're transitioning into this. It could be very, very hazardous as they try to make this approach. You can see Zampa slowly creeping out and around, trying to make use of different hillsides as he's coming through here. Looks like they're going to opt into coming in on the southern section of the circle and actually just going to pop in right over here. It looks like they might be coming in foot. I think that they know that there's some members of Check 6 over there next to them, so they keep looking around. But it's going to be everybody condensing back around. And Ben Q5 actually managing to get a double knockdown onto Wolf and Smeagol off in the distance there.
Yep, interesting. So they're going to continue to push forward here. Nice. Oh, Zampa's got a pin behind a car. This is a tough spot for Jake and...
This is a repeat of what we saw at the end of last round. This is Check 6 pinned down back behind a car. Got Zampa just waiting for them to move. So Tempo Storm just really holding them back. And look at this. Tempo Storm managing to get back into this cover, but they are not yet safe. Rush is still kind of gatekeeping them off to the side. Rush is in the safety of the next circle, but Tempo Storm still has to push forward about 100 meters. Check 6 is off to their side, and you can see that there are the people from Dare up above them. Your boy Dre decides to pull the trigger, puts the pedal to the metal, runs back down over this hillside, trying to block it through, but they're just going to have to run back up. Remember, there are so many people playing different parts of this hill. Dare's looking back down towards them. Looks like Don't Shoot Me is just hiding out in that shack right now. He's probably...
Rock's a good grab. That Rock's a good grab for them, and that's what Dre does. He leads the charge. Everyone follows right behind him. Zanko going to be playing the tail gunner, trying to give him some cover, and has none for himself, though it looks like they should make it okay, as nobody wants to overpeak. So the plus side for Tempo of all those teams right next to each other is nobody really wanted to commit to, like, running out on the roof and shooting at them.
Good Lord, we have a huge fight breaking out from the northern area of the circle as there are squads upon squads on top of each other come in as another pan deflection comes in, but doesn't manage to save Richie's life. You can see Totality pushing hard into this wizard tower. There's another squad that's just right on the outside of this. You can see Zarek is trying to push back over towards K-Mine. You have some neighbors taking some shots back and forth at each other. It looks like some of the people from Totality have evacuated and trying to push back down through there. As off in the distance, Taro is trying to line up some shots over towards K-Mine. Spaz is still following up right back behind this, right on the heels of Taro. If he decides to, he could just instantly take him down. He's just stalking his prey, though. He doesn't want to give his position away. Finally takes the shots over at him, but doesn't manage to get the down. Taro steps back around and kills him. He waited just a little bit too long, so Taro manages to live another day. Totality is still holding down in this area. Goes a little bit wide on that push, and look, Taro just pops back around and like a laser just takes him down.
He just waited too long and served up some potato soup. I think he'll have to bounce back from that in the next round. I understood why he waited, but it cost him big time. Let's jump over to the rest of Totality. Taro, who survived that 1v1 surprise attack. Now the rest of the guys inside the tower are going to be holding it down against a huge fight here. K-Mine getting some nice shots. The upside of being outside the tower is look at how they can take a shot and rotate. Totality does not have that benefit, though they don't have to worry about being pushed from behind. Duel does have to worry about that with this circle.
The way everybody's having to play right now, you can see that it's just tree-to-tree combat. Everybody's trying to move through the different positions, the different ravines, just trying to get what shots they can. Next circle is going to be pushing everybody together in 50 seconds. You can see it's still forcing itself around that lumberyard area. So everybody's going to have to do a little bit of a push back in that direction. FlyQuest already in a strong position. Onpic already kind of getting a little bit of a strong position. They're going to have to reposition just a little bit, but it's going to be all these guys that are going to have to push up this hillside right into where Dare is at, right over where Nova is positioned, where Tempo Storm has repositioned into. It could be really dangerous for everybody as they do this. You can see that Mr. Blown Apart, Next Legend coming up right next to Nova's Locknarb there. They're going to run by that, and potentially, even if they manage to make it by him, they're going to run right into Tempo just a little bit ahead of them. So
Locknarb hears them. They're coming up. Render needs to try to advance without losing anybody here. Mr. Blown Apart gets low and slow. He hears Locknarb moving. They can try to flank on two sides. The problem is they'll take shots from the other teams that are out there. They're being watched from two additional sides, including Tempo Storm. Have to be very, very careful.
This is where it gets so risky. You can see that they're just on the edge of the circle. They just have to move just a little bit. But 3 different squads all in a form of combat right now. Nova Locknarb is just pinned. He knows that he's got people around him. He can't quite manage to make it out of this ravine. He just has to wait. He has to move after the circle forces everybody to. You can see that way off in the distance we've got Evil Genius is still out inside the blue. They're going to play on the edge of it as well. Grenades are now raining down next to Locknarb. 2-man push is coming through. The shots have to come up. Locknarb gets the double kill, manages to stay alive, but he still has to push back up this hillside. He has to make it just a little bit. Tempo Storm heard those shots. They have to be waiting for it.
Yeah, but double spray. Interesting to choose to push from the same side so that he could easily do a spray transfer. Great play by Locknarb to make that happen with the AK at close range. Now we jump to Rush, who is trying to rush it and take away the cover from Dare Rising, but they are locked into that building. Great strategic position until the next circle closes. Unless they get very lucky, they can cover this entire area. Rush has to push them. They can't stay outside.
It looks like Dare got caught up in what's happening on the other side. They kept hearing all of those fights. This is allowing Rush to come in right underneath of them. Nobody's looking out those side windows, and you can now see that. Look at this. Everybody from Dare is looking off different directions. Rush should have a fairly safe position on here. It's all about the moment that they choose to come through on this. And finally, shots do come out. Shreddy takes a lot of damage off of that. Now they know that Rush is there for certain. How are they going to play off around this now? They do have the flat top, but it's so risky to step out onto that. Grenade's about to come up and through. And that's a flashbang coming off. Going to at least try to buy themselves a little bit of distance there. Flashbang into the grenade to follow it up. It's going to connect on the outside wall, come back down and say hello. Next grenade's going to come back up. Looks like they're going to try to go for a blind window off that. Hopefully the door was open, but now you take out the door, now you can follow it up.
There you go. Looking for the Kobe's, walking away with some shacks. That's okay, though, because they're inside the circle, and the circle has moved away from the house.
He's going to rush away from Soko! Soko manages to get the down, he's still retreating. He doesn't get the kill on the machine gunner, so that's going to be the res off of it. Dare manages to survive through that. Res coming through 45 seconds. Next circle has shown itself, and it's just going to be a little bit to the east of their position. FlyQuest still having, the last remaining building inside of this. But look, Samurai right up on top of another squad, playing on the other side of the rock face here. Tentalol and the rest of the squad know that he's there, but FlyQuest holding the other side of it.
Oh, Penta with the nades, going to toss him out, looking for some Kobe plays here. Samurai tossing in the opposite direction. Nades on nades on nades. K-Mine takes the shot. The rest of the team solidifies around him. I like the FlyQ's got Samurai out here in front while the rest sort of cover his back. Zark trying to find a position, but he immediately takes fire. Has to fall back to this side of the rock. They're just locked in place. Nice spray.
Tries to go for a reposition. Samurai manages to pick him up off of that. Going to get the kill immediately following it. See K-Mine's trying to figure out how he's going to go forward off of this. Everybody is just kind of caught in a little bit of crossfire as everybody from all these different positions now hearing this firefight with 18 people up and alive and so many clear sight lines. Everybody has a general vicinity of what's going on around them. Zark still trying to play off this, waiting for the moment that anybody from FlyQuest reveals themselves. But based off his retreat, he does manage to make it back over near the tree, waiting for his teammate to manage to make it into safety as well. He's trying to push forward now. Looks like maybe trying to catch a kill off of the Samurais just on the tree, right out in front of him. The rest of the guys from FlyQuest still haven't managed to make it inside the circle, but they do manage to cast Zark on that. He's going to instantly go down. So now we're down to 17 people up and alive, and now it's all on K-Mine, who was holding the other angle, waiting for everybody to come forward. Looks like he's going to opt into potentially throwing down a smoke to allow him to retreat back out of this.
7 teams, 16 people, so we got a lot of light teams there. A lot of damage coming out. Dre gets Hypox, so that is some nice shooting here as Optic was trying to fight it out. Looks like Tempo removed from the map. Nova trying to push forward on Optic, who's lost 3.
Optic has 3 down off of that push into Tempo. Only Hetror is up and alive. Lochnar, by some miracle, is still alive. Our guy from the double kill beforehand. He's still playing out inside the blue. He knows that he's got a lot of people in front of him. He doesn't know how many people are down right now. You can see so many people on Optic are down, but they're still inside, are close to the safe circle. They're crawling, just trying to get ahead of it. We're going to see Hetror be able to get 1 res off on this. But look at this, so much damage to armor. We talked about how this can be an attrition game. We see multiple helmets already being knocked off of here. This is going to be a lot of trouble here. And Rip Lochnar, the dream is done. Baja is still off over there. 9 people alive, Toffees. Looks like we got FlyQuest in one position, Optic off on the other side, and I believe that we have 1 person down playing on the hillside, and that's got 2 people. It's going to be Machine Gunner and our guys from Dare.
Yeah, so Dare Rising making it last. They fought out of a tough position inside of that house to get to the circle. Optic will have time to get most of their players back up right now. So we're down to 9, 3v3, 4v3v2, if my math is right. And, you know, I'm not known for my math skills. So there it is. Optic with 4 has a good spot, but they don't necessarily have the advantage. That pleasure will go to FlyQuest, who not only has uphill, but has the circle and will probably force the guys from Dare Rising to fight Optic on this low ground rotation.
Now, Shraded's going to have his work cut out for him as you were talking about making this push up. We've got FlyQuest really having the high ground point, but with 4 people back up and alive, it's going to be, well, actually, no, 3. It looks like we had 1 that did die to circle there. So it's a 3v3v2 right now, as Optic is now moving slowly forward. Look at the forward positioning coming out from one of the members of FlyQuest, though. Getting down, getting some control over the circle. That's going to be Samurai, I believe, just trying to get some footing. And now Optic is going to be coming up right back behind it. So now you can see the shots are starting to come out. Samurai has got instantly dropped. He was inside the cover position right there, waiting from the people from Dare. So now that's 1 member down. Remember, Optic has lost a lot of their resources off of this, but they do manage to make it into cover. They know the fact that he was positioned around this rock, so they're trying to get some type of vision off of it. Hypoc being brave, stepping up on top of this, no helmet off of it. Does see the guy from Dare starting to take some shots down there, managing to make it to trees, but it looks like Machine Gunner's taking so much damage. He does manage to make it to the hillside off over there. Look at this. We can see that another member from FlyQuest has gotten dropped as Baja is on a sneaky flank coming off over here. Living up to it, he's coming back down. He Blue's in a lot of trouble now. He does have the rock face, but there's going to be so many people from Optic pushing him with nowhere to go. He is now dropped. We're in a 3v2 now, as it's going to be Optic making their way down the side of the hill as they know exactly where Dare is positioned at.
I love watching Optic play the end circles because they sort of throw the rules to the wind. They let everyone sort of play their game. The flank by Baja Waka was powerful. Now we got the last guys from Dare Rising trying to push up. Machine Gunner gets knocked down. Shraded, the last hope is Optic. Overwhelming odds and loss of 4. Shraded just barely makes the circle, but that tree is downhill and the push is on. Hetror, Hypoc, Baja Waka wanna bang, and they're going to take it to the end. Shraded with a prayer. Can he do it? Nope.
And so with that, we're going to see Optic take this round with a very strong performance coming out, all things considered, with 8 kills. Hetror being the kill leader inside of that. But good Lord, look at Derek coming in second with a solid 7 kills, 6 of those being Shraded himself. Solid performance coming out from Shraded. Coming out in third place there is going to be FlyQuest, netting themselves 4 kills. Going to be Nova in fourth, with Lochnar leading the way with 3 kills and Richie getting 1 for himself. And fifth place, look at this. We got Zark coming in with 3 kills, Pentalol coming in with 3 kills, and K-Mine coming in with 2 kills of his own, with Wooly taking the tail end of that. So with that, guys, that's the end of that round. Now, just think about this, Toffees. We had to start an hour early today. We're already 2 rounds in, and it's just like 10 minutes after the time that a normal round would start. So with this, we still got more rounds to come through, but we're going to go ahead and throw it to our guys at the analyst desk to give a breakdown of everything they saw in that round.
Matchroom Toffees, thank you very much once again. Game number 2 ends, and it's Optic taking first. And now, Dave, we're in a position here where we're in the last week, and the wild card gap has finally closed. And it has finally closed to Optic. So now we're sitting here, you and I, and it's no longer wild card out in front, which they have been since the start of the season. They are now just below Optic after that win in overall points. Wild card playing tomorrow. So, exciting stuff if you're in the race for first place and you're into...
I mean, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. Optic can win the rest of the night. It's still not over yet because the same thing can happen tomorrow night with wild card. So, I mean, but Optic definitely on the right track if they want to secure that first place. Getting 8 kills there, first place.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, just racking up the points. Game number 1, they got second place. No, they got third place with 11 kills.
Yep.
I mean,
a lot of frags.
They're just having a great night. Yeah, a lot of frags. They're having a great night with placements. We saw right there. You said it. Baja Waka, he managed to make his way in between 2 FlyQuest members. Talking about being the sneaky guy.
I mean, that is really that is a high aggro, a high aggressive play coming out of Baja there towards the end game. Because if you think about it, they had 3 up. They know there's 4 other players on the map. They know it's split in 2 different teams based on who they located. They located 1 up to the north, 1 down to the south. Thank you for cooperating with my hand gestures here. But yeah, look at this. They had 3 players down after going at it with tempo. Hypoc, the last one remaining. I'm not sure what happened, and I don't want to, I know the Optic fellas pretty well. How does 17 not get picked up there? You know what I mean? Everybody else got picked up, and he's kind of crawling around. I felt like they weren't under pressure, so I don't know, maybe a little miscommunication there. But I saw him bleed out, and I was like, he just kind of bled out the whole time. They just kind of left him to die, which I thought was a little.
They were that confident. They were that confident. They didn't need him. They didn't need him this game.
They didn't need him.
Hey, you sit down. You relax. Go get yourself a drink there, 17. Just be ready for game number 3. And they quickly wrapped it up. I mean, Hetror, he already knew where these 2 guys were from that push just before. Once when we started this replay. So Hetror had the visual of these 2 guys. Almost took out Gunner. Yeah, Hypoc had the visual of these guys. Almost took out Gunner on his way into the zone. So they knew exactly where they were. So they just needed to wrap up that FlyQuest fight that was kind of going on all game. If you can recall, started at prison. They were taking a couple shots at FlyQuest at prison, and that whole fight just continued throughout the game. And they won. I mean, they won. They wanted to secure that FlyQuest rivalry that they got going on for sure.
Yeah. So let me explain this all one more time. Okay, we do have, this is the final week, obviously, of PUBG Online split number 1. There's $5,000 prizes for split number 1. First place takes $3,000, second place $1,500, third place $500. Obviously now we haven't had much of a race because of how far ahead Wildcard was of everybody else. Wildcard kind of fell off towards the end of the split. They've been, they've been kind of coming back to reality a little bit. They've been not as explosively amazing as they had been early in the split. And now Optic has closed that gap. So Optic now is actually in points ahead of Wildcard. Wildcard, however, still has 4 games to play tomorrow. Optic, 2 more tonight. So that's kind of the first and second split. That's kind of going to be interesting. And on top of all that, SafeRez, former MLGB, is a part of this as well, and they have 4 games to play tomorrow night. So those are the top 3 all competing. It should be very heated, if you will. Now, Dave, my question for you is, where are all these teams that are on the cusp? Like,
Oh,
they're not
who
showing
am I?
up at all.
Who am I? What am I doing? NA Nade. NA Nade. NA Nade. NA Nade. Oh, missed it. All right, so talking about the teams that are on the cusp.
Yeah.
I mean, one in particular, they weren't really on the cusp. They were below the cusp, in my opinion. Nova. I mean, I'm going to keep saying it all night long. Before tonight, number 22. As of right now, really strong games coming out of these guys. Every time I look somewhere, my camera gets blurry. But really strong games. Really strong games. So we still got 2 more games left for Nova. I wouldn't have even considered them in the cusp. They were below the cusp. But now
they were 22nd overall. They need to
now they're in the cusp.
Top 16.
They're in the cusp. They're in the cusp, baby.
I mean, Locknarb, he's winning 1v2s. Locknarb's looking great tonight, and I think that that's huge for that team. And on top of that, you know, their first game, they kind of clutched out. Look at this. Grabbing the 2K, lining up for him as he takes down 2. And the biggest issue is that team he's taking out, that's Render. Render in 18th overall ahead of them. So now Nova, moving up past them, they're taking teams out that are on the cusp, that are in the middle, that are so close to getting top 16. So Nova putting themselves in a position where tomorrow is going to matter for them. They're going to sit here, fingers crossed, and watch these teams. However, Turtle Squad, Duel, 4 PUBG players had a decent first game. But Turtle Squad, Duel, Render, I mean, they need to show up now.
Yeah,
this is the last chance.
I mean, not only that, we have, like we said, not only is Nova under the cusp, they're raising. I don't know if they have enough, momentum to kind of make it to that cusp level. I know you love your cusp, but
I love
game 1, game 2. They do early game this very wide 2-2 split, very wide. I'm liking it. I'm liking it, and I'm happy that it actually paid off this game. Wow, I don't know if we have the replay, but they had that one replay or that one push. I believe it was Rush trying to take their compound there, kind of late game. I believe it was 3 left in there, rising, and here we go. Here we go. Rush is like, yo, I want this compound machine gun. I was like, what's going on? He gets shot. Cover fire is like, bam, that's my machine gun. I'm gonna take ya. And then Rush right there at the end. He's like, let's get this kill. Let's get this kill. And Trader's like, not today. I'm not gonna let you kill Gunner. All right.
I almost want you to cast an entire game and voice the players because it's
we got one more play.
Actually amazing.
One more play. I requested it. Let's throw it up. Let's throw the Taro 1v1 snapback birthday boy. Hey, at least his birthday, he's having a good day. Look at him. He's getting stalked right now by Spaz TV. Spaz TV's like, hey, what's going on, man? Let me just see what you're doing. I'm gonna start shooting you right now. Bam, bam. I missed my first couple shots. I shoot you a couple times. Taro's like, holy moly, getting shot. Got the guacamole. He's gonna peek right there. Headshot. He's out the game. That's what I call a quick 1v1 snapback 360.
Okay, I saw the chat reaction when this happened, and in Spaz's defense, Spaz is actually a really good guy. He streams.
He's a great guy.
He plays PUBG. He's actually subbing tonight for Grunto. Grunto through switching up some rosters. I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be subbing or staying on the roster or not. But it's been a while since we've seen it's been a while since we've seen Spaz playing in PUBG Online, and it happens, man. I mean, it happens.
Oh, it has nothing to do with him. He was against Taro on his birthday. So regardless of who it was, regardless of who was in that situation, you would have lost. You would have lost. You would have lost regardless. So it has nothing to do with Spaz. Spaz, he's a great guy. He's a fragger. He can frag me any day of the week, blindfolded. I know this. But it's Taro's birthday, so you're just not gonna win. Easy
Dave the meme god bringing up Taro's birthday.
Dave the fact god. Fact.
Sorry.
I got his birth certificate. I requested it.
No, but it's actually really important. Dare Rising, they are so low on the leaderboards, and it's kind of upsetting because they had such a good game here. Shraded especially, fragging out, doing a really good job. 6 kills, if I'm not mistaken. But they were 37th out of 40 before tonight, and it's just like that climb is unrealistic. It really is.
Unreal.
So it's
unfortunate
for that team. Hey, they're putting in the effort.
They're doing it.
And they're going out fighting.
You're so
they're going out fighting.
I'm so negative tonight.
I'm not being negative. I'm just saying realistically, Dare Rising needs 4 wins and 100 kills to get, and
Easy.
All right, rack it up. In the last 2 games, Dare Rising will have 4 wins and 100 kills. No, I think they played that awesome, and I think Shraded was absolutely on fire. And I think it's a great game coming out of that. And I really need to take the time to challenge these teams, especially for Duel, Turtle Squad, and Render. Because, this is it. This is the last moment for these squads to get into showdown. They're all right there. They're all a win and some frags away from securing their spot. And if they don't take this opportunity now, they're going to wait another 5 weeks to even have a shot at playing through another split one. And they're setting themselves back. And I want to see these teams come up with something. You know, maybe it fails. That's fine. At least you're trying, and at least you're going out punching, and I think that's very important. I saw it from Check 6 a little bit. They were at 26, you know, came in second in game number 1. Yeah. They were looking all right today.
Fragging out.
4 PUBG players, they came in 4th. They're looking all right. You know, those are some of the teams. It's really interesting in NA because that gap is so small, you know?
I mean, honestly, if you're on the cusp, like those teams that you keep mentioning, I don't know if I want to do something different. You know, if it's been working this far into the game, I mean, maybe just stick with it. Stick with it. Hope that other squads kind of fumble that ball, right? Because I mean, you go out there, you go doing some crazy next level, all in a boat strategy. You might go out first, right?
All in a boat, Mustache Dave strategy. If you've ever seen Dave in any of our custom
that's
games.
Jabroni's advice. So I don't know. Well, if I'm on the cusp, I don't know if I'm going to take your advice, Jabroni. No offense.
It is interesting that a lot of these teams do come up with a different plan or scheme when they get towards the end of the season. They drop somewhere different. They rotate later. They rotate sooner. They change it up a little bit. But there is something to be said about what you just said, which is, you know, sometimes just stick to what you know. Just play your game and let the failures or the mistakes come from other teams and play off of those and try and, let's say, make something out of another team's mistake. You know, try and get yourself those extra points as best you can. I can hear you about to talk to me.
Yeah, it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm a true believer of that. I mean, I sprained my wrist. It ain't broke, so I'm not going to go to hospital. I'm not going to fix it. If it's broken, I'll go to hospital. That's pretty much what these guys should do moving forward. Here's another replay. All right, let's get out the vehicle right now. I'm ready for us. Here's another NA frag. Warlock throwing it. He actually gets one of the frags, though. Look at this. Kill feed. That trigger taken down by that frag, but then quickly in return, hey, here, take your frag back, man.
Wait, can we actually – is it possible to run that again?
Yeah, run it again.
Here's the thing there. We're just going to run that replay really quickly one more time. That triggers his teammate that he kills with that grenade.
Good.
Yeah, so he actually hits the – yeah, that falls and kills that trigger. Warlock was lucky he didn't kill himself. But Grotto with a dangerous approach there, running into a lot of issues, and obviously getting wiped there, running onto team number 8. That is Duel. That's one of our teams right there on the cusp that needs to make some play. So here's the deal, Dave. I just got word in from our wonderful production.
I'm done.
I apologize for the delay. We're actually in the game now, but we have had a lot of server issues tonight. They're doing some update. I don't know what the thing is, but anyone trying to run customs, it says error. So that's why the deaths are a little extended tonight. We've had some extra time. Thank you for if you can just do that with me next time, it'd be great. So I apologize for the delay. I know it's taken a little bit extra on the first desk and now the second one. We are now in game. We'll get right to it, but that's kind of what's happening. We're getting some errors as we try to start.
Thanks for the update, Jabroni. Thanks for the update.
You know, that's actually why I'm here.
I appreciate it.
That's pretty much my only purpose.
Whoa, no, man, you're a good guy.
And to talk to the wonderful Mustache Dave, which is, you know, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
I see a lot of people in chat. They're concerned that I'm on the right-hand side tonight. They think it's going to affect my ability to be on the desk here. I'm at a disadvantage. What do you guys say?
It's actually important that I want you to know. I actually did tell them that we need to switch and you need to be on the left because this is the first time that you've been on the right, and I don't like it.
I'm scared. I don't know what's going on around here. Something's going on.
Just changing it up. I don't like it.
Where the mods at? Where the admins at, man?
Yeah.
Where the admins at? All right, 33 seconds. Jabroni, who do you think's going to win this game? Who do you want to win this game?
Who do I want to win this game? I want Duel to win this game, man. I want Duel to win this game. I want Duel to make Showdown. I think Duel should be in Showdown. I think they've played fantastic so far this season. I do not want to see them fall off at the end, and that's what's happening right now. Duel, get out there. All right, make some plays. Duel is team number 8. We talked about it. It's Snark and the boys. They are going to make some plays here. I believe in them. I think they're going to get into Showdown and split number 2. But now, let's finally hop into game number 3 right now with Matchroom and Toffees.
Hello, everyone. Matchroom here, joined by my friend Toffees for your in-game for round 3. You know the fact that we did start everything an hour earlier, so if you're coming in at normal time and you're like, what's going on Game 3? There is an update that's happening tonight. That's what's making everything so wonky with the servers. Got to get in those gun skins that should be dropping here relatively soon, Toffees.
I've saved my PP. I'm going to make money. No, but on the upside, I'm actually glad we started early because it means I get to play more PUBG tonight. So super hyped about that. If anybody wants to play with me, hit me up. Not hyped necessarily about the third plane in a row to favor the south side. It's a different angle this time. So the teams that got to jump to Georgia Pool got to drive, and the ones that had to drive to Yas now get to jump. That said, though, the north side of the map seems to be unloved by the planes.
Let's see if maybe I can counter caster curse myself and say that it's going to go to Zarky for the circle this time, since I keep getting all the mean circles to the players. Like, at some point, I'm just going to be considered cursed, and they're not going to let me cast because it's like, no, then we get all the evil circles coming through.
Counter caster cursing. This guy's living in 2022.
I am. I'm going to say that the circle is going to go to Zarky, so maybe it'll be favorable to the players this time. But with this, you can see that naturally the far eastern side of the map is where a lot of people are going to be dropping out at. We do have that I guess crunch of people that's occurring right over Rajak at school right now, but they'll have plenty of time to separate.
That's just motor pool life, man. Everyone wants a car. That's where everyone parks. Lots of parking lots there, so easy grabs, easy nabs. That said, though, I'm interested in where the guys. It looks like Tempo has hit the ground at Gatka. That Trigger and Blitz, they're coming down, so it looks like the guys from Grunto might actually be landing in the Gatka grouping. The question is, if they find a car, that's fine. They bounce. If not, they might have to fight it out. And Tempo, known for spreading so much at the start that if Grunto stays together, they could cause a little bit of damage.
And talking about being way up in the air, you can see those parachutes are just pixels up there. He is going to be making his way over towards Georgia Pool. And wait, did I manage to counter caster curse? Wait, Zampa coming up with the teleporting UFO ammo popping onto his gun there. I think he's just off to the distance, as we can see. So these are some hard shots to hit from this distance, let's be honest. But
not impossible.
I managed to counter caster cursed it a little bit. It's not on Zarky. It's at least a central circle this time, so a lot of people already posted it. Yeah. Well, it's a polite circle. That's what we were aiming for.
So that said, we are taking shots at Grunto Esports, who dropped 2 people south of Zampa's position. Him and Maluk taking those wild shots. They're hard to hit, but you got to take them, right? Because if you do hit it and kill the guy and he falls to his death, like highlight reel. So definitely worth taking that shot. Let's see what else we got going on the map. We got Optic very comfortably. All of Yasnaya is theirs. They chose not to go to their happy Georgia Pool location, which does mean that Grunto gets tons of loot all to themselves. EG in their normal position. They'll rush dangerously close to them as they are sandwiched between Rush and Murderous Plush Toys. That should be a pretty interesting transition for EG if they don't get together relatively soon.
Kind of curious to see now that we have people going towards Yasnaya. We've had a lot of circles that have been favoring the Yasnaya area with nobody dropping there based off the last couple of plane pads. This time around, we do see Optic taking it, so it's nice to see it finally get a little bit of attention. But speaking of attention, look at Nomi making his run, doing his looting life here, coming up for Evil Geniuses, as in just trying to see what you can find. This is an interesting loot path that he's on. And hey, that's not the correct time.
It's the correct time if you're in the right time zone. It's always 10:15 somewhere.
But
that's
it's like 40 right now. Even no matter what the hour changes, it's 40.
Well, I mean, I don't make the rules. I just live the life, man. That said, here's the overall leaderboards. Optic, Wildcard, Safe Res, Total. These are the guys who are on top. They should have no problem advancing to the top 16. But Optic, even though they're in first place, doesn't care. As you saw in the last game, they're always going to go for the solidify, get the win. And that's what happens when you get Yasnaya all to yourself. These guys are going to come out wicked kidded.
Just because you're in first place doesn't mean that you should slack off. You got to make statements. Got to keep on holding that location up there. As we're having a little bit more relaxed game to start off with, and this goes back into what we were talking about with plane pads and circles. Remember, with the first 2 games, we saw some really mean plane pads to circle configurations coming through. So really, everybody was playing off of a back foot, having to mobilize very early, having to transition very early, not necessarily having a chance to get a lot of solid loot coming through. This time around, everything's a little bit more relaxed. Everybody's just breathing that sigh of relief as you can get a second, loot up, get the things that you need to really propel yourselves into the late game.
Now, it does look like Major may be driving by Lush. Lush just heard them coming. He's going to try to run outside very quickly, but they stopped uphill smartly to see if anybody is in here. Now, Duel, if they spot Lush running out, would know that they have a 2v1 scenario and could choose to take it if they want. I think they might have seen that motorcycle.
At this point, I'm just starting to feel bad for Lush. Anywhere that he goes, multiple squads tend to be around him at the very beginning of the game. Looks like Major NL, does he see it? Yeah, it looks like he saw the motorcycle. He's going to go off in the distance. If not, some hello bullets coming out from Lush saying, get out of here, coming his way. Going to force him off in the distance. Following up back behind Mr. Fuzzy, though, you can see the cover fire was off in the distance.
Yeah, Fuzzy, he left Fuzzy behind, I think, to sort of maybe play an ambush role if he came running out of the house. So that said, we'll jump over to the care package. M24 with a 15.
No, bitches! Your UAZ! Don't let it go into the water. He came over there. He cut that corner. Yeah, he cut that corner. He was like, Loot Crate. And wait, Peaches?
Well,
Peaches.
Yeah, no, he got some exhaust on him. You want to rinse it off before he goes up there. I think it's a smart play.
Loot Crate sweaty, man. That's
I've learned playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, it's important to always wash when you get the chance. So Peaches living that clean life as he takes a dip in the river. Cover fire and Mr. Fuzzy still staring at each other. Fuzzy's been watching him this entire time with a
Cover fire's taking
iron sight scar. Yeah.
Look at this. He's holding him back.
Yep. He knew he was there. He's like, let's just do this, man. It's so strange.
Well, at this point, they probably saw his transition come over with the motorcycle, I'm going to assume. That's the fun part of popping in. We don't necessarily know how the storyline developed before this, but the way that they're playing this, they seem to know that there's only one player inside of that location. Otherwise, Mr. Fuzzy would not do this. That's also why he probably looking behind him to see if anybody's approaching.
My guess is Mr. Fuzzy stayed behind to loot that body, and Major said, I'm going to go to the Alamo, no big deal. And when he took shots from cover fire as he drove, Mr. Fuzzy realized, well, the transition is going to be tough to do now, and he started looking for him. Because there is that body just to the right on the ground next to Mr. Fuzzy. I don't know how it got there, but it is definitely there, and I know he wanted that loot. Meanwhile, down south, Totality taking shots from Wolf.
Well, I think that's a reversed on that. I think Wolf is in a place he does not want to be. You can just hear the tires popping, bullets colliding all around him. Already knocked down to half-life, trying to retreat away from the UAZ before it explodes. Don't want to die to that. At this stage, though, he just doesn't have anywhere he can go. You can see a hard push now coming up from Totality. He seems to get an idea of what's going on. He's trying to
shot his arms off.
Away. Look at this. He has no helmet, just a little bit of body armor, but it doesn't matter. He just gets shot down as he's trying to go through there. No opponent. Don't do it. Oh, the disrespect kill.
You saw the rest of his team go for the finish, too, with the bullets at the same time. So Poon's going to come in, get himself some nice loot. Tough luck for him as Totality continues to clean up. By the way, last game, I think they got like 7th place, but they had an insane amount of kills. Totality has been absolutely on fire.
Wait a minute. Let's bring back up that map for a second. Looks like Optic, while they did manage to take Yasnaya, don't want to be a part of Yasnaya. New Circle, they say, no, let's just go ahead and go off into this northern area. We don't think that anybody's going to be there. Evil Genius is now cutting through. Kind of curious to see if anybody picks up that Yasnaya location, but you can see that Optic looks like they're going for those god complexes along the hill, maybe trying to catch some free kills. Actually, no, they don't even look like they're going for that. They're going for the hill. Could they be doing a bridge camp? With the river coming in the way that it is, it kind of bisects the circle. It's going to force people to have to play around these little mini bridges. Taking this position gets them line of sight on 2 different bridges, and this is just positioning to get some kills.
And it's strong because it's north, so it's as far as possible from this plane. Very likely you're not going to get rotated on from behind, so now you control almost 40% of the circle and access points to the major middle position, right? So that if anybody comes in that's not using those 2 bridges, they're coming way from the outside. So it's a really good spot strategically, understanding the plane and where the rest of the map's going to be filled out. Now, let's look here at what we're looking at. Dare Rising versus Murderous Plush Toys has become a bit of an arms race. Both teams have been slowly moving troops in one by one, and now we're going to have the 4 versus 3 as the rest of Murderous Plush Toys has finally arrived. So that was kind of a fun, slow build that looks like it could get bigger. Richie, however, about to show up and maybe regret his life choices.
He is not going to regret his life choices because he no longer has a life to regret. He is down and out. That's going to be taken out there. But the other member of Nova, Locknarb, pulls off a different direction as that goes through. These 2 guys catch 2 different members of Nova as they pull apart. You can see the fact that Nova was like, no, there's somebody at this, we have to pull back out. But this is going to provide the opportunity for everybody from Murderous Plush Toys to start stepping forward. No longer trapped behind their rocks, they can slowly progress towards these buildings.
Oh, Hunter Rounds had the shot, couldn't close the deal. The bars coming in MVP right there. But he gets Fear Me inside the shack as he plays a very aggressive push right now.
Dare is under a lot of stress right now, getting pushed from multiple angles. If you look down at the mini-map, 3 different points of conflict are starting to come inside of here, and everybody on Dare is having to retreat back off on here except for Cover Fire. Cover Fire has to make sure that nobody from Murder's Plush Toys comes out and forward, holding so many different angles, but 100 Rounds is already coming through from a different angle. Mr. Fuzzy's still back off in that position he was at beforehand, but 100 Rounds slowly creeping down. Grenades are starting to come out. He does see Machine Gunner. Machine Gunner does manage to make it into the house, just barely. So all 3 members from Dare are still up and active.
In a weird way, the grenade saves Machine Gunner's life as he finds himself in a tough spot. 100 Rounds, though, kudos to him on a hard, aggressive rotation that has actually worked out really well for this push.
We don't see a lot of very strong pushes like this coming in the early game. You can see that right now they really want either the vehicles, they want the loot, they want something out of this, and they know that they have to get something. This is a strong position, all things considered, given the way that the circle is set up. But the problem is the longer that this fight happens, more squads could start taking positions around them, and Murder's Plush Toys found themselves being pincered very quickly.
And that's exactly what's happening. Bardem coming around the outside, and they're going to try to slide up over this road. Machine Gunner, Cover Fire, and Fear Me looking out every angle they can, but not a lot of options. Machine Gunner going prone in the middle of the yard.
Stylish. I gotta say, Machine Gunner is stylish right now.
He has some disco moves.
Fear Me has been knocked down, so this is now a TV floor coming into the situation. Grenades coming out. Fear Me in a world of trouble off over the Machine Gunner's trying to line up the shots on 100 Rounds. 100 Rounds turns out, peeks it back through there, trying to go through the fence, back and 400 takes a lot of damage. The whole time, Fear Me is bleeding out on the side of it, though. Machine Gunner has to retreat back over there, but no, Fear Me is now down. Bar Dave with the push off to the side, catches Machine Gunner off of this. Now it's all on to Cover Fire as he's getting pushed on from every single angle. You hear grenades coming in through the windows. Cover Fire obviously trying to hold the stairs, retreating back down, not knowing where that grenade's at. There are people just swarming everywhere around him, and he knows he can't get to Machine Gunner. He's just got to figure out a way to survive this. Looks like he's trying to listen for footsteps, trying to figure out how they're coming through. They have to know he was here. He was holding this position beforehand. Smokes are now coming out down the stairwell, just trying to buy himself a little bit more time. Is he going to use this opportunity to go back out the back window, or is he still listening to footsteps?
Farming confusion. Farming confusion. Punch out the window, make them think you're running maybe.
Smart.
Try some things out here. That said, kudos to 100 Rounds who just stood and banged with Machine Gunner and allowed that flank play to happen with no vision because they were all watching that flank. Comes through. Cover Fire. He gets out. He knows things are going down here, but they are watching every single angle, and they've got plenty of time to do so. Notice they haven't finished off Gunner. They're leaving him there as bait. He's just unimportant. So they're going to push in. 3 enter the house. Fuzzy plays the outside, watching the windows. 100 Rounds, listening carefully. Smoke starting to dissipate. Cover Fire trying to find his position.
Trying to find just that right spot. Looks like he keeps thinking about he's trying to line up, get some vision on the outside. He can hear all the pitter-patter of feet around him. He knows that the encroachment's coming. There we go, the peek's coming up. Cover Fire does manage to drop 100 Rounds. Trying to get the vengeance. He at least gets the kill on it. Goes for the reload. Fire Dave steps up. He gets the down. He's trying to go for the kill on top of it, but he's taking so much damage. That is at least the greatest stand that he could possibly try to accomplish. He got 1 kill and a down off of it and managed to burn a lot of health off of Major as well. At least not going down without a fight.
So he does. I mean, get some points. Meanwhile, let's jump over to the circle where there's some fire going on. Check 6 taking shots at the rotation. Totality trying to get to a good spot. Tempo Storm actually in a pretty good position just south of Ruins in the Avengar houses. It's like to call them. That's one of their favorite places to hang out. Tempo taking a note from their book. Nova going to be just to the east of them, but taking fire from Totality. They may have to find a better spot.
And you're hopping it over here with Nova. And Nerf Me Please. Just trying to hide down back behind that. Explosion goes off. He's on no life. They're just trying to cower back behind this. As you can see, so many bullets coming out from Totality. Does that airdrop actually provide a little bit of cover for him based on
maybe
that?
Maybe a tiny bit.
But look, the smoke coming off of it kind of creates a little bit of a plume effect, making it hard for Totality to see. That's how come a little bit of relief has come out there. I can see that opponent just trying to make his way forward, taking a lot of damage off of it. I just want to point out that for all that we were seeing with that fight with Murder's Plush Toys beforehand taking down Dare, they're not even inside the circle. So that was all just for pride and loot based off of that. Nerf Me Please is still managing to stay alive behind it, but he is caught between so many squads right now. He's got Tempo Storm back behind him. You see Pentalol and the rest of his crew are pushing down over there next to Totality. Totality knows where he's at, and even Check 6 could potentially have line of sight on him as well.
Should be pretty interesting as these teams start to congest. Now, I do want to remind you, they did get stuck there in a fight, but they were in the circle when that fight started. And once you start the fight, you can't really extract yourselves the way that they pushed in. So that said, they have a tall order to get back into this thing as we now jump to watch Duel, a team that is in 12th, wants to maintain their position. This is their last day to play. I don't believe they're on the Tuesday roster, so they got to try to get some points locked in here. And they're in a pretty good spot to do it with a good circle location, uphill above Totality. Outlaw taking some shots at FlyQ, who's in Sunken. Nobody really in I want to say a bad spot necessarily besides Nova, who I think is still struggling to sort of move away from behind the buggy.
Got Pentalol that did manage to get it down onto one of the members of Totality there. Not going to be able to get a follow-up off of it because naturally it was a window shot there, as you can see. Pentalol is just following from window to window as it goes through. It's going to be Terragate that's trying to post up and get some form of defendable position back. I really like how Pentalol is just waiting for somebody to step out. Since he's already given away his position off of the down, just if you got the bullets for it, maybe try to get something lined up off of it. But so far, everybody's pretty quiet. We still have Optic holding down most of the northern area on the other side of the bridge location. You can tell that they were kind of posted up in that general vicinity earlier. Rush looks like they've come up and tried to greet them a little bit. So those two squads now holding this northern area of the map.
All right, yeah. So I like what Optic's been doing here. We saw them with that good position by the Rozhok bridges earlier. Ooh, with the 2X looking for the snipe. He sees him. He's watching. It's like a Nature Channel special, watching the lion waiting for his chance to pounce. They're just going to keep gathering information.
This boy, but Rush Suko actually gets a down onto the roost there as a runaway vehicle? I'm thinking runaway vehicle there, just as you can see the vehicle rolling back down the hill. It happens sometimes. That is going to be some meds that do get burnt off of it. So looks like a little bit of a reposition coming out. Circle is going to be based around Sunken City, whatever you want to call it, Atlantis. Rozhok is still in play. Rush looks like they feel confident that there are not a lot of people inside of Rozhok. As look at this, we have running right by Schaefer, trying to get some airtime off of it, hits the brakes and comes down the other side of the hill. That's so smart. Right as they crest, they just slam on the brakes and come down, so that way they don't catch airtime, put themselves in any more risk for bullets coming through there. So Lush and Binlong do manage to make it into some form of safety. Rozhok is inside the circle. As you can see, Nerf Me Please under fire from FlyQuest. That was our guy beforehand that was kind of bunkered down back behind his buggy. Just can't catch a break, and there is nowhere for him to go that is safe.
On the upside, Nerf Me Please has somehow managed to make his way up over the cliffs here. This Professor Plum has been crawling and clawing his way to stay alive, still very low on health, and making his way into ruins. So kudos to him, fighting back, keeping himself up, even though he was taking fire from a ton of different angles. He is Nova's great hope here. Is Nova another team that's trying to put on some points and climb up to that 16th level in this game today?
Well, we have a lot of transitions looking like they're going over that eastern bridge. As you can see, Evil Geniuses coming up right back behind that. That's going to be our guys from before. And actually, we can see Master Nook actually just pop out of the vehicle. We got Murder's Plush Toys coming up back behind them. So interesting to see how they intersect up on there. We still have the river that's running right through everything. That could be a big value commodity as it goes through, because it's going to make it really hard for these different squads to jump back and forth across the circle, all depending on the next couple of circles.
EG moving in over to where we saw Optic earlier to the Rozhok bridge position. Major goes right into the water. They're going, remember the old days when you could drive across the river occasionally? Now they got to make the swim. Bardave chose not to swim, though, and it cost him big time. So his team made a good call as Render gets that pick off and gets a free kill from Bardave.
So with that, that's going to be a down, and look at this. So many people transitioning. Jaconov's trying to make it over towards Sunken City. There's a little bit of water down there. Don't Shimmy retreats back off of it. Check 6 in a very vulnerable position right now. You can see that nobody's really taking shots at him. Looks like Don't Shimmy pulled back off away from that, because naturally this is technically FlyQuest's zone. He doesn't want to put himself in too much of a dangerous position. The rest of Don't Shoot Me squad is on the other side there. So he took the shots that he could, now going to retreat back out. FlyQuest hears all these gunshots, and they don't have a really good line of sight onto this. So all based off of the position, you can see Check 6 has kind of intersected themselves right back between it, and there we go. FlyQuest does finally manage to line up the shots and get the down onto one of them.
FlyQ playing a very good, I don't want to say game today, but like they've just had a very good execution throughout the games today. Pushing in on the guys from Check 6 here in a split push, coming from two sides. Check 6 really back against their walls. They get the res, but I don't know that they survive this four-man push. It's going to be a tough order.
is trying to get that life back up. It's all about how much reinforcements can come back in, and how much any of these other people fighting on the outside can influence any of these fights. Here, grenades crashing into the building, breaking through windows, tearing apart different rooms. But right now, Biz is still up and active. See, he's got his teammate off to the side of him. Bullets are coming down everywhere on the outside as FlyQuest is starting to do their building breach. They're coming in. Actually, no, they're retreating back off of this. I think it was getting a little bit too hot from the outside angles. So they're going to opt into discretion being the better part of valor. As look at the Samurai's just chunking in some grenades. Is that going to connect? I think it's position out of it.
Moved away from
it. Their life annoying, you know? You're like, we know you're there, but you don't get to be there happy.
Yeah, it's just letting them know we're watching. We're always watching. You're right. It was getting hot from the outside, so they'll have a bit of a, what do you want to call that? A relationship of necessity, as they sort of will know where they are, leave Check 6 to sort of help defend their angles, and they can pick houses that aren't exposed to Check 6. So it's not a bad play by FlyQ, smartly not forcing a push that could result in a loss.
All right, so here we go. Next circle is popping up, and it is going to be right on the outskirts of Rajak. That's going to put everybody from Don't Shoot Me and his squad in a really good position, as well as the guys that are fighting around inside of Sunken City. See, Wooly and Pencilol, they've already hopped inside of their vehicles, trying to make a transition over and through, but with all the skirmishing that's been happening inside of Sunken City, nobody's really lined up to be in the best position for him. So Wooly, K-Mine, and the rest of his team just hard drive over here, crash into a little dip right there, and I love this spot. You can play it really efficiently if you're very, very careful. You can got a little bit of a divot that they can play.
Yeah, it's like that divot just south of Yasnaya we saw used earlier today. It's a decent spot. The problem is it's a very tough spot to peek out of. Speaking of tough spots, let's jump over to Razak, where we got two guys going head-to-head here. This is rough. Render Esports right back in the thick of things. The Theorist pushes up from Team Rush, clearing them out, looking for the last man standing.
So now it's just a matter of damage control coming on there. I don't see anybody else from there. Oh, Dash is on the other side, all the way away from this, kind of positioned off, looking in the distance. He's got himself the Car 98, but that puts him all on his lonesome now. Gonna have to try to play for a little bit of positioning. It's risky to go loud because he has to know how many people are over there. His teammates being left up for bait at this point, just saying, hey, come get this. We want to get the kills off of it. But I think Dash is going to be a little bit smarter than that. We do have Murderous Plush Toys coming right back up behind Evil Geniuses around the northern part of the circle. As you can see, Optic is trying to make their way in. It's going to be Outlaw that's putting some shots back over at them. We do have that little intersection of where these rivers meet. It looks like that's going to be where Optic is going to post up at. These rivers can be pretty influential, as you can kind of survive inside the water over here. But the problem with it is there's not a good ways to kind of get out of the water after you get positioned inside of it.
Yeah. Optic is moving very, very cleanly, though, in this game. Remember, they saw the water push, and they're also going to do a split car push. So the cars will ultimately be there, but if they did get caught in an ambush by the bridge, they still have two able to sort of push into the end game. Optic using split rotations very effectively as they roll right up on Nerf Me Please, who is interested, I think, in taking the spot that Optic has claimed for themselves. So he will turn around and have to swim away. Meanwhile, Headchar sees Evil Geniuses coming in, be able to watch the garage house as well, and they'll probably just hunker down and wait for the blue.
They've got full protection on everything that's inside the circle as long as nobody comes up back behind them. Naturally, they don't know that there's not going to be another squad coming behind them, but they can make a general assumption due to the way that the circle is coming in now. So we have a lot of squads really posted up on this western parts of the circle. The eastern parts still pretty wide out in the open. The Rajak skirmish is kind of what's happening over there. As you can see, Schaefer kind of being a lone man out off over there. Meanwhile, Totality is holding down the hillside. Tempo Storm, again, being very, very quiet throughout this game, but they have started to make their progression inside of Sunken City.
Punij and the rest of the guys from Totality trying to find their position in. Tempo Storm, again, sort of just rotating their way into the thick of things. We seem to do it in the last couple of games. There's the roster in a pretty good position. They won game one, had a little bit of a struggle in game two, but still managed to go very deep, and now they're going to push into Sunken up against FlyQ and still Check 6, who are holding strong. So this is going to be an interesting fight. Tough town to fight in. What do you think about fighting in Sunken?
Oh, Sunken fights are just a mess. The way that the water is structured, the way that they have those ramps everywhere, you have to be watching every single corner, every single peak. Somebody could literally pop up from underneath of the ground, it feels like sometimes, quite literally, if you're walking through that water. People can kind of hide around the little walls that are down there. There's so many different little spots. So going to be interesting to see. We haven't really seen too many Sunken City finishes inside of competitive PUBG, but I'm kind of praying for the players that we don't end up going that direction. As Don't Shoot Me Please looks like he finally managed to make it over to his teammates, no longer off on his own. Remember, he was the guy that was holding off over next to Sunken City, had to retreat back out, caught Optic on a Summa Cross, and with that, lordy, they have a nice position inside of there. The guys on the outside of Rajak also in a good position. Dash being the solo man, he's still not necessarily in the best of positions, but he's now doesn't have to worry about moving being the solo man. But it's all these guys in the river that might have to worry.
Rivers got to worry. They got to push up to Garage House. This circle usually tends to end sort of around that shack just across the road, so the Sunken guys are all going to have to push their way out. Eventually, the upside is that little ridge right there at the outside of Sunken is in play, so they're all going to be fighting for that. Whoever survives Sunken and can manage to use the blue behind them is actually going to be in a pretty good position. Check 6, by the way, has reunited 3 of their players together in a pretty good spot to play Gatekeeper, so maybe the fly Q plan of letting them live may backfire. That said, here they go. They find themselves some Ben.
Whoa! That was a manly shot coming up from Ben Q5. Jumps up, knows somebody's in the window, puts themselves in the crosshair, and hits the shots to drop Shadow. That's going to put a lot of pressure now onto Biz. You can see that they're playing inside of the shack here. There's 3 different squads that are converging around their general vicinity. As you can see, off in the distance, Tempo Storm is coming out and forward. Off to the side of that, FlyQuest is coming down, and there is Optic that is also pushing over. It looks like they're caught up into a different skirmish, though. Your boy Dre is doing a little bit of a creep out and forward, but it's going to be Biz and his teammate caught right between Tempo Storm and FlyQuest, as now the bullets are starting to come out between FlyQuest and Tempo Storm.
Yeah, so they'll be fighting it out. Optic's going to have to deal, unfortunately for them, with Turtle Squad, who's embedded in the Garage House. That's going to be a tough fight, but that may actually allow the guys from EG to sneak in behind them and play a little bit of a spoiler role. We'll see exactly how that goes. And don't forget, Murderous Plush Toys does still have Fuzzy swimming around trying to figure out how he can get in.
So Optic's getting forced to kind of be in the water right now. Evil Geniuses do have a boat that they have crashed up over there on the hillside, trying to use that as some form of cover. Off in the distance, though, K-Mine and his crew that were playing inside that little divot hill, they're starting to have somebody encroach back behind them. With all the fights that you've been hearing out and around them, see, that's going to be Schaefer holding up back there. That's 2 different squads coming up. You can see Totality is actually split apart. So you have Purdy coming up right back behind Schaefer and Young Bae, doing a slow crawl over there as a little bit of a fight has happened. The rest of Totality looks like they're going to reposition and try to provide some form of assistance, but this could be really, really dangerous as the grenade comes out. This is going to be influential, but I think it falls a little bit in between them. Does get a little bit of damage onto Young Dre there. So Young Bae there, so we're going to see Purdy come up, trying to line up the shots. He knows exactly where they're at.
There it is.
Coming down all around him. There's one coming out for Purdy. Big explosion, and there's going to be the follow-up. Young Bae goes down. But now K-Mine and the rest of the team now know where they are. Shots are going to come out. Terrell's been knocked off in the distance. Got one person down on the other squad off in the distance. You can see that K-Mine's trying to peek out and around. Grenade comes down, takes down Ponage. Smithy's on the outside of it. A lot of fights happening off in the distance. You can see FlyQuest and Tempo Storm now getting caught into a fight as well, as they've been forced to encroach on top of each other.
It's rain and death, man. Maluk trying to push in. They're dealing with Samurai. They actually eliminate FlyQuest to secure their position. They do have to worry about Check 6 behind them, but let's jump back over to where Duel now has to deal with Totality. The trench warfare, the nades have been powerful. The circle right where we thought it would be on that shack, right on the road. It's a pretty popular, it's a common circle. The teams know that's going to be about how you move with it right now. Pentalol and his team have to secure this against Totality or vice versa. They can hold this position. It's a really good one with the ridge and the hole. They just have to lock Totality out, and they'll be in pole position to try and move into an easy top 3, possibly a chicken dinner, but it's a tough fight to get there.
And look at this. Wooly's coming around the other side of this hill. So you got Zark that's holding down this position, trying to inflict what damage he can, and then they're just going to end up pincering up over the top of this. Zark's just bouncing back and forth between everybody, and that's going to be Totality going down.
Massacre, man. They got 3 of them.
Tempo Storm is pushing into them, though. But off on this, we have an encroachment. We have so many different fights that are happening at different parts. As you can see, Optic is now doing a full-on building press that's coming through. Peach is being left back behind over here, just trying to provide some level of cover for his teammates to manage to make it into the circle. You can see Hypoc peeked up on top of that. Grenade comes down and does a lot of damage onto it. Peaches is just kind of being forced to inflict what damage he can to try to provide some level of safety for his teammate to run out and through, playing the next level games, getting caught up in the fight there, jumping back down, and is just trying to hold a position, waiting for everybody to come out and through. Problem with this isn't inside the circle, so Optic can really just go out and around him at this point. Now, with this, it looks like it's kind of quieted down. Let's see if we can pop back over with that other fight and what's happening over there. As I want to say that Tempo Storm did just end up wiping that other squad over there, coming on the tail end of it.
Strong Massacre, your boy Dre got a whole bunch of knocks and kills in there. They take over a very strong strategic position. That's why they pushed it. You can see they're inside the circle. They just have to survive it. DeCannon in some trouble, shuts the door.
No, this is my shack. You can't have it. Shoots anybody that comes near it. Closes the door again. But alas, his door gets taken down. He is inside the safety of the circle. Riem is inside the safety of the circle as well. Tempo Store did a peek up over the top of that hill. Looks like they lost one. Our solo from earlier, Dash, is just kind of posted up. He's trying to get some shots onto the squad that's in front of him. He's taking out inside the blue, just trying to be a little bit of a spoiler. He does manage to inflict a little bit of damage onto Rush and draw a lot of people's attention. See, the vehicle fortification has been placed up right on the edge of the circle there. Tempo's already in another position to wait for it as well. The cannon, we saw him a second ago, inside of his shack. Reimpost up over there, but now Optic has to pull out of this and slowly make their way forward. And Peaches jumps into a vehicle, tries to go out. Vehicle explosion takes him down as Optic says, no, you don't get to go by.
Riem going to go low and slow. Optic pushing. They've still got 4. Tempo got their knock up, so they're still running 4 deep. We got another team with 4, and then a couple of spoilers spread out across the map. Rush going to have a hard push. Next circle will very likely favor Optic, if I don't miss my guess. Though I think actually Turtle will probably get right in smack in the middle of it. We'll see exactly how this plays out. Doc Cannon playing that it favors him. No, it goes to Rush this time. So Rush in a happy spot. The problem is there's not a lot of cover. They've got to wait, but they can push last.
There is like no cover over there.
No cover.
There's a road running right in the middle of it. There's like a tree. So Rush can move forward and potentially get to a tree and 3 stack behind it. They still have their vehicles. This is a brave play that they're trying to reposition their vehicles out. Suku's taking a lot of damage off of it. Hops out of the vehicle, rolls it up himself to get some form of cover inside the circle. But you can see bullets are raining down around him as he's taking so much damage on it. The rest of the team didn't manage to make and get their vehicle over there. He's starting to get shot from so many different directions. You can see Tempo Storm's got the lineup going for a long distance Kobe. Surely that'll explode before it even gets to it.
It was close. It was good.
Close. Gotta go for the shot off of it. You can see that Optic was trying to push out and forward. Looks like Heteroid has been dropped off over there. Reem is still playing off of it. Tempo Storm has taken a lot of damage. You can see that your boy Dre no longer has his helmet. Reem's playing off the backside and Cannon still holding down his shack, waiting, trying to figure out whenever he has to go. Reem still being super sneaky back there, waiting for his chance to potentially pop up and strike. Yeah. But it's going to be Optic that's just trying to slow creep out. As you can see, all the smoke grenades now starting to slowly coat the playing field and what we have left.
I respect why Rush made the transition. They had to test the waters. That said, Soko is still up. Now Rhea may try to just heal through it and get a little bit deeper because of the fact that teams are all going to have to pushing now. They're going to get wiped out very quickly. Zampa playing the front roll. Optic on the push. Cannon still hiding inside of the smoke. Look at the smoke everywhere. Everyone creating their own fortresses of fog as they try to lock up this road. Bahawaka in a decent spot, actually covered in behind a rock just outside the circle. He's going to have to move, but not till the bitter end. Heteroid knocked, and the guys from Tempo Storm taking some damage. BenQ knocked down as Bahawaka watching all sides. We see Rush trying to make their way in as well. They're at the end of the circle, but it is starting to click in on them, so they've got to slide forward. Zero cover out here besides a couple of blown up cars. Maluke Dre trying to use the grass for cover. Zampa falls back and falls down. Dre and Maluk trying to keep the fight going, but Bahawaka's got a Raka, and he's going to try to get him. 17 on the run, goes down, but the exchange is there. Luke drops as well. The res could potentially go off for Bahawaka as he turns back around to get 17. The blue pushing Dre. Dre outside, he goes down. Tempo is eliminated.
Cannon is still alive back over there, tanking the blue. Looks like he's going to do a last-minute rush. It's going to do too much damage. He's going to go down, at least trying to inflict what damage he can onto Optic there. Bahawaka looks like he's all on his lonesome now. He's the solo man going against a 4-man squad. Rush knows this. They can see the numbers on it. Playing out, trying to get some level of control over the circle. Baha's choosing to go loud. He knows the fact that he's in a lot of trouble. Does get one off of it, but that's all he's going to get, as we're going to see Rush coming out with the victory inside of that. From a little bit of a harsh position where we saw them coming through there, but look at this. We're going to see 6 kills coming out, all things considered, with Rush coming in first. Following that up is going to be Optic netting themselves 7 kills. Coming in right behind that's going to be Cannon, Don't Shoot Me, Peaches, and Outlaws, netting 2 kills of their own, but strong positioning with 3rd place. Your boy Dre, BenQ5, Zampa, and Maluk. And good Lord, look at those kills. Is that 16 kills coming in inside of that round? Solid performance coming out from Tempo Storm. Following that up is going to be Check 6 coming in 5th with no kills.
I mean, basically, at the end of there, we had a couple of – every team secured a spot that if they had gotten the circle, it should have been a win for them. The circle chose 0 cover, and the team that was closest to the circle and got to move last ultimately takes the win. Not a big surprise, but well executed by them because they still had to beat a lot of teams and a lot of good shooters as the kill count proves.
So with that, everybody, we still have one more round to go, so we're going to go ahead and throw everything back over to our analyst desk, which is going to consist of Jabroni Bro and Mustache Dave. So we're going to be waiting for our last round of the evening. See you guys in just a minute.
Thank you very much once again, Matchroom and Toffees. Dave, I like the little reaction to realizing you're on the left side now. I told you I was going to make it happen. Yeah. You're a little bit. Well, I mean, you know, I just.
Jabroni, is it snowing outside? Is it snowing outside? That last circle, I thought it was snowing, man. I thought it was snowing. All those smokes.
18.
Making it look like a new snow map.
18 smoke grenades were on the ground just then. I did actually count because I wanted to figure out how many. I counted 18. Woo! I'm in no way a mathematician, so I could be wrong. Please don't quote me. Take my word for it. But, yeah, I mean, that is a huge utilization of the smokes that we see there. Rush able to get the win. And here's the situation that I have for you now, Dave. Rush, you're sitting at 28th overall before tonight. You had a decent night so far. You grab a win, okay? You're feeling pretty good. Is it too late for them? I don't know. I mean, there's one game left. They really have to come up huge to have a chance here. I think they're a team that, I mean, clearly they can get wins. They did really, really well that round, ended up winning. So maybe if we get a back-to-back here, they have a chance, and they've given themselves that opportunity.
I'm looking right now. They're 25. 25. I don't believe that's with this first place and the 6 kills. It is not.
It's not.
This is tough. I mean, this is tough. I like the Rush boys. You know, great team, nice guys. But I got to say, it just might be a little too tough, a little too late. But, hey, they're walking the walk. They're talking the talk. They're coming out here on their very last night, and they're fragging out. They're doing a phenomenal job. I think you mentioned Optic coming in second place. Turtle Squad, though, coming in third place. The Canyon almost ruining Optic's finish there. I thought this guy was going to definitely spoil it. And Tempo Storm with the 16 kills. My God, these guys are nuts.
Dude, Tempo's on one tonight. Tempo is just feeling good. I don't know what it is. They had a very casual win in the first game. It almost seemed easy. It was just like, we're just gonna play into the zone. We're just we'll take our time, patient. And then at the end, they're like, all right, let's clean this one up, and then just kill everybody and win. And
they tried this game though.
Oh yeah, this was a violent, active Tempo team. You know, before this game started, I said I wanted Duel to win, and they looked really good.
I was gonna ask you. How do you feel about Duel and their choice of positioning themselves kind of mid-game? I liked it. I liked it a lot, and especially after that wipe on Totality, I was like, oh my goodness, Jabroni must be super happy right now.
I was.
And then next thing you know,
I
blinked my eyes.
I was very happy with the way Duel played that, the aggression that they brought out, especially onto Totality there. They pushed right up the hill. They were like, let's get these kills right away. They're trying to get points, and I really do appreciate that out of Duel because they have not had a huge night so far. So they have to make up for those 2 games, number 1, and then they got to set themselves some points for tomorrow. That way they're not sitting there terrified that someone's going to steal their spot. It's unfortunate because they did get that wipe on Totality. Then we move over to watch Optic taking out Peaches. We come back. All you see is Tempo Storm. Duel is gone. They are just there's just no trace of Duel at all, and I think that is just Tempo Storm doing what Tempo does when they're having a good night. And you know, we see this out of Tempo all the time. They're very relaxed. They're not a huge let's say highlight reel team. You know, they're quietly patient until the end game. Normally. Except not in this last game, and that's what's so different here. This was a violent Tempo team.
Yeah,
in this,
I like it. I was feeling it. You know what? I give you lots of stuff, right?
Grief
all the time.
Is the word.
Grief.
Sure.
Sure. But I agree with you. Tempo Storm definitely. Every game I watch them, they're kind of just like, hey, bada bing, bada boom, they play, chilling, just walking their way in the zones. Yeah, they play super chill.
I think it's because the way they rotate. Mm-hmm. is so smart that they're not ending up in those 2 zones constant issues that other teams get themselves into. And I think that's what gives Tempo kind of the illusion of a more laid-back, patient team, because they aren't super aggressive center circle right away, especially when the zone is not in their favor. They're very patient getting in. They'll ride the blue. They'll wait for their opportunity. And I think that's what sets
the wave, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what sets Tempo apart, because you're not thinking about them in the early game because they're so quiet. And then once they get
they're
in the
always
end
in the late game.
Yeah, and then once they're in the late game, that's when they're making the plays, especially when they have 4 up. I mean, they looked absolutely fantastic in this last game. And that circle, man, oh my God. That circle's brutal.
Oh, talk about brutal. I don't know if we got the replay. Nice transition. Cover fire. Cover fire.
Nice
pulling out the Rambo. He's like, bah, 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 there's my stairs. Don't come up here. Oh, we're going to start it from the very beginning. 100 rounds out there, making that money, girl. Let's see. He's got a couple shots off. He's going to connect maybe a little bit. Cover fire. He's actually like, okay, I'm not going to take this fight. Fear me, though. He's going to be peeking through that little window. He's going to be taken down almost immediately. Machine Gunner getting denied by the fence. Man, this fence does not like him tonight. And I'm going to do a little peek. Okay. We're both not landing our shots, so let's rotate. Let's reposition ourselves. I mean, you have to be scared at this point. Okay, now, just fast forward. Now we're back to where cover fire. This is what I was talking about. This guy, he's pulling to the Rambo. 100 rounds. First one, down. Killed. Dead. Points. Bar Dave, down. Not killed. No points. Major NL. He's like, oh, man, we're getting wrecked up here. We're getting wrecked. So they just kept sending up there. I mean, you send enough people, eventually, right? Eventually, you'll get them. Eventually. But cover fire with that Rambo.
Do you see how good production is? That replay came up, and he made me bigger. And then it comes back, and I'm like normal sized again. So I don't know. That was sneaky, but I saw it, and it was impressive, and I like that.
I still don't have my coffee, so I'm not very impressed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're also
keep going.
in a different state.
Whoa, leaks.
Sorry. Oh, leaks. Sorry. My side.
What about
sorry.
for Split 2?
I meant to say you're on Miramar. Yes, Split 2. Why don't we talk about Split 2 for a second? Because here's what's coming up, guys. Split 2 starts next week. Miramar. 2 games every day. 2 of the 4 on Miramar. There's some leaks for you. You want some more leaks?
What else? And there's more.
No more leaks.
And there's not more.
No.
I'll DM you later.
Don't worry about the leaks, all right? Don't worry about the leaks.
I got the leaks. DM your boy. DM your boy. I mean, we pretty much talked about everything here.
Yeah, it was a straightforward game. It was a great centered circle. I was worried about the water affecting the late game, but we actually pulled away from it early enough that it wasn't a huge problem. Evil Genius is actually taking a boat down the river, which I thought was interesting. Nice to see that. Nice to see a team actually use that. It did get them in the zone from the north, but a tough spot to try and play from with absolutely no cover.
They're number 29. Number 29 before this game.
EG, they had a couple good nights, but they've had such a tough time. I mean, I think some of it is it's the rotations a lot of the time. They just always seem to be losing players early, and it sucks because, I know they can shoot, I know they can fight, but it's just when you're at a constant disadvantage, getting in some early issues over and over again, it's really, really tough to make that up. And I think that's a problem EG's had. So hopefully moving forward, it gets cleaned up.
I finally got his name right, Master Nook. I finally am able to pronounce it. So, I mean, I got to see these boys. Some more moving forward.
Yeah, so
saying?
We talked about Duel a little bit, so let's get into the replay. This is Totality earlier before that happened, then moving up. Schaefer and Youngbay, so unfortunate here for 4 PUBG players. Purdy just popping up with the M249, cleaning that one up, no problem. And then you see K-Mind, you see Wooly. This is Duel, and this is the approach that got Totality killed. They did take out K-Mind there, got a nice knock, but the aggression came out as Poonage went down first, and then it was like, all right, Duel, let's go do this thing. And Smithy, trying to hold them off. They backed off, had to go for the res, and that really gave Duel the opportunity to push on top of them. Totality, a top 10 team right now. And here you see Znark. And what's more important is the player up the hill. See, Znark gets Purdy, but up from above onto Poonage, onto Smithy. Is Znark taking even more shots with the help of Wooly, taking them out. So that was a very important fight for Duel. And I think, hey, props to Duel, man. Props to Duel. They were out there fighting, and I'm proud of them. And I think that the way they play that was very good. And I believe in them in this last game. I'm sticking with them. I like I like how Turtle Squad's been playing. They were 16th. I like how Duel had played that last game. They were 12th.
All right. About Turtle Squad, I think we got another minute.
Sure.
Let's touch on them. They had that sweet compound kind of. They had the advantage, right? All those teams had to move out of Watertown, had to push down Optic, had to swim across that or underneath that bridge. Check 6, FlyQuest, Tempo Storm, all in Watertown, right? Turtle Squad overlooking all of this. I feel like they were impatient because I believe that they decided to actually leave that compound. They left maybe 1 or 2 members in there. I mean, and that's how the cannon got into that shack, right? I mean, they were planning ahead, which is smart. But, I mean, that compound was just so strong, in my opinion, for them to rack up some kills. Yeah, here's their Decannon one. He's like, hey, I'm in the shack. Don't come in here, close the door, shoot you through the door. I mean, it's like he tried to save the door, but then he ruined it himself, so I don't really understand. But what are your thoughts? Because I feel like they're in a phenomenal compound just to rack up frags and for them to split up there. That's for sure.
I think they just were going with the insurance policy there where they were like, we know we're fighting in this compound, but we're a team in a position right now, Turtle Squad. They were 16th overall at the start of tonight. They're a team in a position where they can get into showdown, and they need to play well. They cannot have a bad night. They can't. They cannot afford it. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we'll try and get the kills and we'll take the fight, but let's just throw the cannon in there, push into the shack, get into circle so we guarantee you there. That way we can secure that placement for sure. Hypothetically, a third or fourth optimally. They ended up third, which I think is a job well done. So it was a good decision.
Yeah,
but
well
you are risking yourself losing that fight. That is 100% true. In which case we did see the rest of the Turtle Squad players go.
And Peaches, he's like, hey, I'm all in it.
That was never going to work. Yeah, that was absolutely never going to happen. That was I don't know what the plan was. I don't know what the other plan is.
Yeah. Suckers!
He just jumps. I mean, he was
I would imagine he was honking there too. Honk, 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 see you later, suckers!
Hopefully. I mean,
that's what I would do.
Yeah.
But then they're like, hey, what's this guy doing? This guy's crazy.
At a certain point, you just know it's just not gonna happen. You're just like, it's just over. I'm gonna hop in and just see what happens. I would have tried to sneak in and prone.
It takes
I guess.
courage.
Yeah, I mean, courage. I don't.
Your adrenaline has to be pumping. I mean, he knew that they were in there. I mean, he just witnessed one of his fellow squad members get murdered. So he's like, he actually snuck his way out of there. And for some reason, he's like, hey, let me just get in this Dacia and just risk it for the biscuit.
He's always been such a good guy, and I think it's one of those things you just get in the UFC, you just close your eyes and drive and just see what happens. You know what I mean? Just like, all right, whatever. Like maybe I live, probably not, but like maybe I guess. But it's one of those things.
Close.
So yeah. So once again, I just want to say I apologize for the delays tonight. Unfortunately, the wonderful world of PUBG and custom games are having some bugs this evening when it comes to all of the games that we're doing, not just Showdown. We're running the promotionals. We're having the same issues. It's pretty much all custom servers where you're trying to start the game and it's just delayed. So that's why our desks have been a little extended. It's me and Dave hanging out, chatting. I hope you guys don't mind. We're just, kind of hanging out as we wait to get
How is that going, the promotionals? Do you have any updates on that? There's a couple teams in the open series.
I mean, there's a lot of teams. I could probably pull up I don't know if they actually have the scoring open.
I know for sure there's people out here that are interested in these up-and-coming squads. Like, I'm one of them.
Yeah, well, the promotionals are definitely on the website somewhere. I just don't know where. I'll have to find it. I'll find it before the end. We'll announce some of the placements. But 45 seconds left, Dave. Now, we talked about Nova. They had a tough last game. Do you think Nova is the team to pull this off? Do you think Duel is the team that's going to pull this off? Do you think Render comes out of nowhere after a really tough night? Some like so far they just haven't been able to do anything. Which team comes out here in the last game and does it?
You know what? I'm gonna say Nova just because I believe all those guys, they all got the purple outfit on, so they got the team uniform in game. I want to see them make it, further in their careers. In game. See, they're planning for the future. So honestly, I'm gonna put it in their basket. I like their mentality. I like where they're thinking, and let's go Nova. Let's go Nova.
Narb, you heard it, man. Mustache Dave calling you out. Make some plays, Nova. But let's hop into our final game of the night right now with Matrim and Toffees.
And we managed to do it. We managed to get ahead of the update. We've got everybody in the lobby. We've got a very nice plane coming through this time around, coming off of the western side, cutting right through a rancho. So now people aren't forced just to push their way north. They can go north and south. Opens up a lot more of the map as well, Toffee. So let's see how this is going to go down. Let's see if we can even avoid a circle curse and maybe not get a cruel circle off of this. But I don't know. I'm calling it. I'm getting a feeling with the way this is set up, military base.
Military. I say it with you because it is true. That said, great circle. Great getting in before the server reset. Great game so far. And though there was no cover in the last circle, it was a lot of fun to watch the 18 smoke team fights that came out of it. So if we can keep getting that kind of action, that would be great. Now, I love this plane matchup because it goes over all of the major cities, essentially, right? It makes almost everything except maybe Milta, but that's still long jumpable, strikeable very easily. So that means every team can sort of play their game, and that's what I'm excited to see. And most teams look like they're going to exactly where they always like to go to. Totality mixing it up a little bit, dropping in the traditional Tempo Storm location. So I'm curious to see how that goes for Tempo. They don't really enjoy it when teams jump on top of them like this. So that may cause them a little bit of a kerfuffle early on. We'll track that and see if it actually happens.
Also have two different squads that look like they were pushing their way up towards Savernia of all places. First time we've actually had a plane path go that way. It looks like they're actually going to separate out, as I believe Spaz looks like he's managed to get some control. He's a 4 push on it, so yep, that's going to force Rush back out and away. Remember, and nobody necessarily wants to drop hard into a place where they could potentially end up with an early game skirmish. We have been seeing some early game skirmishes, though, just due to the nature of the circles earlier, or just the fact of needing to get vengeance, as we saw in that Murderous Plush Toys fight in round 3. But it looks like everybody kind of managed to get into what they feel is a comfortable location, so everybody should be able to get at their loot. And it's not a military base circle. That's 2 in a row that we now have something fairly nice coming through. Nobody in Yasnaya, so that might be seeing some attention. And it's going to be really just the squads off on the western coast going to have to make their way back over.
We did it. By yelling for it, we actually got the opposite. It's not like in the game where when you start yelling about how you need to have an M4, it always spawns for you. For the casters, it's the exact opposite. So that's fun to see. Shraded on the rotation. You saw them bump cars a little bit, then move off to their own spots. Milta wide open, and it does look like cover fire is still coming down.
Cover fire, no! You can land. It's okay. Everything's clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's slow pushing this through there. His friend already got himself a vehicle. He's been up there for a while now, so there we go. Managed to land, and is he gonna actually? The moment he lands, he gets somebody coming his way, pulls up the pistol, shows himself. It's like, no, please let me have this. Just let me have this.
That said, though, I like what they did. They left somebody up high so he could play spotter, let them know if anybody else was headed towards Milta, and ultimately comes down, gets a little trash loot, and secures a good spot in what's going to end up as the middle of the circle. So probably loot that sort of area, those houses around it, and then lock it down for his team. That said, the rest of the guys from Dare Rising going to lock up Milta. Great spot for them to be in. Nobody else going to contest. The guys that he did shoot at land, dude, probably going to head over to Milta Power or the trash in that area. So there you go. So Nova will head to the sort of, I don't want to call it the Milta Power trash, the Milta trash area. A lot of good loot out there as well inside of the circle, and they'll be uncontested because of where the plane was on the sort of west-north route.
I mean, if you can get Milta Factory and Milta Power and all of the reds around Milta, sure, take those. Those are pretty nice, all things considered. Yeah, that's a very interesting press, as you can see that they probably hold about a good solid 1/5 of the circle right now, just due to how they're spaced. Now, the risk comes into play if anybody pushes in, but let's be honest, it's competitive. Nobody pushes into Crater. Most people just kind of ignore it as it is, so you can probably send one person over there. It all comes down to Locknarb just making sure he doesn't get caught up into any fights, because he can be boxed in there if anybody does encroach around it.
Yeah, that said, even Crater by yourself, you can still loot it out in about 1 minute and 40 seconds, assuming you skip some, like maybe that's the small 2-story and the uphill. And that's, you know, there's more than enough loot between the warehouses and the main apartment building. So that said, he should be able to get out, get his vehicle, and move to the rest of the team before the massive rotations start. I say that, and we already see Don't Shoot Me in Binlong looking for centralized positions. They're going to head around towards that shelter area and those complexes over there that are very sought after.
And it's going to be kind of interesting to see how different people play around the circle. Remember, we've already seen one circle kind of end around this location. It's kind of interesting because you can see that sometimes teams have kind of bad memories from earlier in the day. So they're like, hey, you remember that we got taken down here, so they kind of avoid this position. Or they'll specifically move way earlier because they were like, oh, this transition was really bad last time, so let's try to get there way earlier. This time you can see cover fire trying to get Outlaw out of here, just saying, no, no. This is still my home. I had to wait forever to parachute into this spot. You don't get to come over here. So Outlaw and the rest of his team are going to push back off to the side, ending up a little bit closer near Dare. You can see Shraded Machine Gunner off in the distance. This is an interesting spot for Outlaw and Don't Shoot Me to opt into playing off of.
All right, so we'll pan out, get a good look at where everybody's coming from. FlyQ already making their rotation, so a lot of the team's going to start as that timer ticks down. They don't want to get stuck in the the dead zone here up north. There's a couple of good compounds. There's a couple that'll really put you into tough situations. Everybody's going to start a fight for those middle. That said, we see Murderous Plush Toys happy to come in late. I expect we'll see the same thing out of the guys from Tempo Storm. They'll probably make a late transition as well. That's sort of the style that they like to come in, listen to where the gunshots are going off, and rotate around them. So we should see them making that. I'm wondering about the transition off of military base. I think Check 6 chose to go over the other bridge, and they're running sort of the ferry pier loot spread right now instead of committing to Sosnovka Island, and I like that change up that they're doing.
It's a little bit safer with the amount of landmass that's in there. Naturally, most people are going to opt in saying, okay, military base sections, just avoid it entirely. One thing that I did want to point out as well is, remember we saw those two different groups that were pushing up towards Severny earlier. We do see that Rush got forced into a very quote-unquote trash looting style. See, going over next to Stolber off in the far north over there, we have several other squad members pushing off the other direction. So yeah, I can see the Roos way off on the other side of Severny. So they're all very separated out. So going to be interesting to see how they regroup and how much loot that they come out with, just based off of the amount of loot that the places that they're having to play around.
Should be interesting on the transitions. Rush, we'll jump over to Rush, see how their loot's going. He seems pretty happy with his SCAR and his AK. For those of you who maybe remember those, for those of you tuning in for the first time, remember AR spawns are a little bit higher in the competitive scene. So some of you might be saying, how come everybody's already got 2 ARs? For those of you who maybe are just jumping in, that is because there's a 1.5 times chance that you get a little bit of better weaponry when we talk about competitive play. And that's just to remove some of the RNG of maybe landing in a city and having somebody go to war with you early on. So that's why these players looking pretty good. That said, when you see a player who's still running an Uzi, you got to wonder how bad their loot situation is at this stage of the game.
It looked like it was a silenced Uzi with a level 3 helmet. So interesting mix of toys that he's got to play with over there. I'm back over here with Darius. He's managed to come out a little bit better. He's got himself a backpack and the full kit going around. Got some level 2s rocking himself and got himself an AR. Big question comes into play whenever you're forced into one of these, I guess, harder looting strategies when you're forced off of where you're at. His sights seem to become a lot bigger of a commodity just because naturally you don't get to hit as many buildings like this. And we're actually seeing that's going to be Dare going for a reposition as Don't Shoot, and he's trying to light up their UAZ as it drives by. Looks like they're trying to regroup back over where cover fire was positioned at. Actually came out and down, and now he's going to go back to his home.
Yeah, I think he thought he was going to get picked up. They realized there's a team a lot closer than they suspected, and maybe they'll just lock up this spot. It's a good compound. They can bring loot to him from Milta. He's been here sort of holding it for the team, and I like that system. It's good team play. That said, 4 PUBG players is across the way, so we'll see probably a running gun battle between those two teams, though any knocks most likely won't result in a kill. It's just going to sort of cost both teams meds and potentially helmets.
It can be really, really risky, specifically if you end up losing a lot of those tools that you can need for the late game. Losing those stims, losing the even bandages, having to burn through a lot of bandages can be extremely problematic, as you don't always necessarily want to use a full first aid kit or a med kit to pop back up. But we do have a look at this cluster that we have right in the middle of the circle. As you can see that Lush and Totality have gotten into a little bit of a skirmish as Totality was driving through. Looks like they should be fine, but it does look like Taro and Smithy look like they had to jump out of their vehicle for just a second.
Yeah, it was some good shooting by Render. They made that early transition we talked about a little bit earlier. They rushed a man out there and held that spot because they knew it was going to be important. Totality thought they had time to take it. I mean, the first circle is barely halfway closed. That said, the guys from Render had already locked it down. So Totality in a pretty okay spot. This Defilade is a nice position. There's only 2 of them there, which makes Totality is now spread out, and they don't want to be in that position.
Well, it looks like they have a full flank position coming off over there, as it's going to be Totality Party and Honage off in the distance. Meanwhile, FlyQuest and 100 Rounds getting into a little bit of a fight. And this is the exact same spot that we saw Murderous Plush Toys playing earlier whenever they did that full press in. And we can see already a down coming off of this. This seems to be an area of the map that they really enjoy playing.
They like it, and they also know that this is what we used to once upon a time called the Liquid Compound, right? One of their favorite places to loot. Early game, back in the day. They know that it is a popular spot. It has been since the opening days of PUBG. So if you can control this mountain, you can often get some pickoffs for whatever team it is that wants to call that compound home. And it was a different team last time. It's going to be FlyQuest this time. And Plush Toys not afraid to take a fight.
Now, the risk comes into play. They're playing very centralized right now, all depending on how these next circles come up. Whenever you do opt into playing these terrain pieces, you can have a lot of people transitioning around you and end up getting shot from areas you were not expecting. So I have to keep an eye on this. As everybody looks like they're definitely leaning into the centering strategies. You can see everybody is really compacted around the center of the map right now. We still have a couple of our edge players. I think we saw Optic coming in there. I think we saw Tempo Storm also off in the distance, making their way slowly onto the edge. Yeah, you can see on the southern part of it, it's going to be Tempo Storm with Zampa and your boy Dre leading the charge.
Wow,
Meanwhile, Hetcher is
so
going to be on the
congested.
northern part.
I mean, look how congested it is. The circle's huge, but every team seems to be fighting over about 22% of the map, maybe 33%. But, you know, everybody's right on top of each other, exchanging shots because of how valuable these compounds in the center are. You know, you can stay there for a while. That said, some teams who choose to play edge may find themselves in a really good position if it's one of those small deviation circles.
Well, then that's where the double thinking comes into play, because you're like, everybody's kind of all centered up. 60 people still alive. And Circle's going to pop up somewhere nowhere near here, often somewhere where there's nobody at. And you're going to think that every good building is taken because you wouldn't expect everybody to be as clustered around this as they are.
Right.
I mean, we're seeing the bunker hills get a lot of play and long-range skirmishes into terrain at this stage of the game already.
Absolutely. So a little bit outside the normal box, everything mansion, the high houses next to it wide open, the school completely emptied out at this point. Now, part of that is because these players have been playing this map for so long that they have a rough idea of where the circles tend to favor or feel like they show up the most often. And it is in that area around shelter where you often see this collapse happen. So they're going to go into that area. The next circle will determine a lot in terms of where it shows them finishing points. So I'm excited to see it close. We're about 20 seconds away from that happening as Landoon and the rest of Nova try to find some shelter at shelter.
And here we go. We're going to see where the next circle updates. Does RNGesus love the players, or does he hate them? Looks like he loves them this time around, as all of our edge players look like they're going to have to center up. Now this is where the big risk of playing edge comes into play, as now you're having to move into a very centralized location. If you continue playing the edge, you might still be okay, because naturally we can see Milta is still out there, the mansion area, but remember that that's still a lot of wide open spaces up on the northern parts of the circle, and the areas around farm. There still is that hillside.
Worth noting, EG got delivered an airdrop directly to them, so they'll be pretty happy about that over by Crater as they make their way up to Pride Rock, a pretty good hold spot, and actually the Crater right on top of Pride Rock, so they get to go up there and make a little Simba play as they loot themselves an MK14 and all the goodies that go with it.
I mean, that's essentially got everything except for a level 3 helmet.
Right.
And I'm talking it landed right on Pride Rock. Like, not even kind of on the tip of it. That's like one of those crates whenever you get it, you just need to go ahead and hold up the symbol. Yeah. You know, that every time I go up to that rock, that's what I always think. I always start having that song go through my head. Now, the problem with it is, you can see Master Nook's trying to be really careful about this. It's just so out and in the open.
Yeah,
He's like,
the amount of times I've been
this is like a trap. This is, you know, he's thinking to himself, this is a trap. If I go for this, it's too dangerous. Throws down the smoke. It's like, okay, let's see what I can get out of this. And then now you got to start changing out everything as everybody's running forward. Like, wait, what? How much stuff is in there? Master
Yeah,
Nook
exactly.
runs out and gets away, though.
So they do get it. They get down. You saw Theris and the guys from Rush moving up to the Wizard Tower on the opposite side. So that is something to remember. They might have heard the car from that distance. So they should have a rough idea. But like I said, they're in a really good spot. It's very holdable. And a lot of teams sometimes will crash that out of desperation. So you can kind of hold it and maybe get some kills. Lots of congestion in the middle as we see teams now starting to make their long rotation. Check 6 coming through Milta looking for a compound of their own to call home. I presume they'll go to that garage house ahead of them. Yet to be seen. Schaefer with an M24 sitting here inside of the high red house has good overlook over Tempo Storm, who came late to farm, but again, gets a decent spot inside the edge of the circle.
All right, and this is the attrition battle played through and through. You can see 60 people are still alive. 100 rounds does get a knock onto loss. There's going to be a lot of that going back and forth. Since everybody is just all on top of each other right now, it's going to be a lot of long-range skirmishes. Somebody just knocking off a helmet, trying to burn through some meds, trying to knock off armor, trying to get repeat down so that way whenever everybody does have to transition, it's just so much easier to mop up the kills to follow. So a lot of long-range skirmishes coming into play right now. It's really going to come down to how do we see everybody transition through this next circle, I think.
Check 6 does take that garage house. Meanwhile, I did want to point out Totality was doing a 2-2 split, holding Grotto as well as Warehouse. Rush has taken the Alamo. Optic is in the mansion spread up north with no contest whatsoever. Meanwhile, the south still wicked congested as the guys from Dare, Rising, and 4 PUBG players continue to exchange shots back and forth and also take out anybody who tries to drive by them.
I think that's going to be the real influencer, is who ends up having to move, who's already set up in a position that can catch people off of transitions, because that's the name of the game this stage. Everybody's just got to move as intelligently as they can, and that's not the stylish of looks there, rocking the, what is it, baklava with the helmet there. Always ends up looking weird.
Nice. Using the technical terms. So here's the hard part about this location that the guys from 4PUBG players is in. It's a great spot as long as you're continuing to get your circle, right? And there may not be a huge deviation. They'll probably be able to hold us for at least one more rotation down. The problem is it's very open. Transitioning out of here can be a massive problem because farm is held, the cross street is held, and then that spot to the north where Peaches, is sitting right now is a really popular kill spot. There's a defilade with 360-degree cover in there, and it's really good for killing cars on transition, especially coming out of farm and that compound. It looks like Peaches is looking to sort of use that to his advantage. Now, they're spread out 4 deep. The guys from Turtle Squad are across the entire map. What do you think about that?
Hold on, I'm getting production talking to me right now. I have to correct myself. It's balaklava, not baklava, because baklava is the delicious treat. It's a super tasty thing. So I'm sorry. I mispronounced things. I pray to Twitch chat to not massacre me too much, but you know they've already done it at this point. All right, next circle pops up, and really not a whole bunch of people having to transition a whole lot, just slowly seeing everything compress more and more. At this point, if you're Nova, you have to be really happy as everything just keeps centering around you and centering around you, but Peaches is sitting here waiting in a trap, and he sees Wooly pop up, instantly takes it down, and that's going to be all she wrote for Wooly. Got to reposition off this, get on the other side of his Dacia. Now that he's given away his position, it's all going to be about how K-Mine and everybody else play off of it. There's no friends around.
That was the scout, right? So like that's the way it works. That's a really good spot for these sort of ambushes. You just lay there, you wait for people to walk into you. They got DeCannon just a little ways down the hill, so if they try to rotate out that way, they got another surprise. And I like the way that Turtle's playing this. They know that they have to get points to move into the top 16. They're 16th right now. They want to secure that with kills, and I love it.
The cannon jumps on the UAZ, starts trying to roll out. Bullets just come at him from everywhere. Takes so much damage, hops back out. Speaking of bullets coming from everywhere, we can see that FlyQuest drops in, manages to crash in the backside of this wall, pushing forward. They know that people have to be here. They can hear all of the firefights that are happening. And look at this. Blue is just right up in the face of Mr. Blown Apart. These guys are just waiting for different pushes. But look at how Mr. Blown Apart's lined up. They're waiting for somebody to come out and through. Binlong actually gets dropped off in the distance here.
Binlong needed Binlong. Just to throw that out there for you.
That's unfortunate to say the least. And there we go. We see Blue step forward right into Mr. Blown Apart. That's going to get the drop on top of him. But potentially easy res coming out over here as they can play around the different sections of it. We can see that Mr. Blown Apart is not coming out and forward. With that unfortunate grenade from earlier, that means that they can't really pressure. They want to take the second to get everything back up, get everybody's health back up. That's going to allow the res to come out. Something's going to have to be very careful about taking around this. I like the reposition coming out from Mr. Blown Apart, though. He got the easy knock from where he was at, knew that they knew where he was at from there, so reposition just a couple of meters forward, trying to catch him if they go for a repeat.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about that spot is they don't have to push them because FlyQ is very open to a couple of key spots on the map that they may start getting sniped off as the circle closes. So FlyQ has the onus of pushing, and that's what they're going to do. They throw the smoke down, buy some time up, Blown Apart, start to push into the blue house. They know they're probably going 3, maybe 2 in that house. So they're going to put everything they have, overwhelming force. That said, the knock comes out. Blue goes down, Lush in the downstairs here as they try to come up. Binlong's going to hold the angle, try to lock it up, and he should be pulling in the rest of his team. They lost one, but FlyQ bringing the pain.
Lush is lined up down at the bottom, though. This is 2 different points of contact that they're trying to pressure in on. As you can see, Binlong waiting out. Smokes are now starting to come out. This is going to force something to retreat back out and around. Loss is out in the open. Already lost his helmet. So much pressure now coming out around them as they can hear so many bullets. Tries to go back over for this other building as bullets just cascade through the windows out and around him. So something's still playing around inside of the smoke. Binlong still holding that angle. Mr. Blown Apart doesn't necessarily have vision. Dash wants to go for a reposition, but they can hear all of these long-range shots that are coming up. That's kind of cut everybody off from them. So Binlong finally starting to get a little bit of a push going off over there. You can see 100 rounds actually post up off in the distance. So Lush, Binlong caught in essentially what is a 2v2, depending on how Loss and something play around this. Mr. Blown Apart does want to step out and around, but it's just so risky to provide any form of cover. Really, Dash just has a solid bead onto Loss's position the moment that smoke goes away or the moment he opens the door.
Absolutely. FlyQ will actually probably be content here just to let them do the heavy lifting, let Render sort of have the spot for the moment as they figure out what their play is. There's shots coming from all over Nova, uphill from them, having an easy shoot down. We got the guys from Duel over just to the other side of Shelter. They actually took over that spot that we saw, I believe it was Plush Toys hanging out in earlier, as Plush Toys has congregated where 100 rounds was. Meanwhile,
yeah, we've got Optic that's doing a slow push-up next to that Trigger. It looks like that Trigger is the last person on his team, just patiently waiting. Yeah, he's the last person still sitting here, so he knows that Optic's coming up, as they probably just took down all of his friends. Their circle has popped up nowhere near their general vicinity, so that Trigger can see. Not opting and taking the shots at Baja. This could be really big if they manage to get Baja down and get the kill off of it here. That tends to be one of the big workhorses for Optic Gaming. But I think he's just trying to bide his time, praying that they don't spot him, pray that they just circle out and around him. And Baja doesn't. Does Baja finally see him? Yeah, he does. Finally gets that turn. You can see he was running by and he was like, where is he at? And then he kind of does that double take like, that's not a log. Takes him down there. Circle's going to pop back up. Looks like it's going to favor Rush Totality. And our guy is caught in that skirmish.
Oh, no! That, look, they moved in. Murder's Plush Toys is mixing it up. They're moving in. They don't know about FlyQ, so they're fighting the guys from Render, and FlyQ's just chilling.
They're just stuck in this little outhouse over here, holding this doorway. Is it going to take anything? You can see the shots are now starting to come out, but I think they're just going to do exactly what you were talking about. Let Render do the work for them. Catch anybody that comes through it. Bardave has now gotten dropped off of this. Lush is still on the outside. Major's trying to do a flank on this. There's just smoke, grenades, death, and mayhem everywhere. The whole time Mr. Blown Apart's holding that back angle on it. Somehow, they're still holding this upper position as Lush is just bouncing from window to window up there.
Murderous Plush Toys comes in and backs up FlyQuest. They don't even know it. Beautiful players. They try to breach it. They manage to get one. They can't save Bard, though. I'm not sure if they understand. FlyQ has not moved. They've been sitting still, so they're tossing smokes and stuff out to sort of keep things confusing right now. But that's about it. They don't know where the nades are coming from. They think Lush is probably tossing them out, so they still aren't very aware. Now, I do think he just tossed a nade. No, another smoke. So they're smoking the shack as Major comes around to go for the res on Bard. FlyQ heard it. The question is, do they just stay quiet or do they try to use it to their advantage?
I think FlyQuest is bunkered down quite literally. They're holding that position. They could potentially come out and play inside the smoke, but there's so much risk based off of that. We do have Schaefer, and they're coming around the outside. Look at this. We also do see Dare under a lot of fire with Tempo Storm. Up on the hill, you can see that Optic is looking their general vicinity. This is a very close fight that's breaking out down there. As you can see, Boy Trey holding up this position, seems to have a good idea on where Clever Fire is going to be coming up at. Is he going to be able to line up the shots? And yes, gets the drop onto one, goes for the shots onto the second one, but no, Tempo Storm is now taken down.
So they do keep 4 up. Excellent play by Dare Rising, but the blue is on their tail. They're going to have to run. Optic has the lead. Bahawaka turns around, wants to take some shots. This man likes to frag, and he likes to kill, so he'll cover as the rest of his team moves in. 17 taking the front position here, willing to take the risk, see if he gets shot as they enter. He'll now fall back to help with the fight. You always see 17 in that scout position because, as he says, he can do his job while he's down as the shot caller on the team, so always want to be out in front. There they go with the engagement. Bahawaka looking for the plays. Petrar gets the first knock. Baja helps with the finish. And now the guys from Dare know that they are surrounded. 2 of them on the run. Shraded trying to stay in front of the blue. Bahawaka gets a spray. Has to duck behind the rock, but everyone else still putting a lot of work. Hetrar helps out there. Shraded is down. Machine Gunner trying to move forward here. And Optic able to just stay ahead of the circle.
Just managed to barely keep an edge out on top of it, so they're coming out and forward. We can see around Shelter, looks like we have a little bit of a fight breaking out over there, as well as we got Zark coming up right next to Nova, as you can see. These guys are all up on top of each other at the position, as we do have somebody, there's a squad, looks like they have positioned themselves inside the bunker at the direct time. So there's a squad up on top of the bunker holding the entrances. Looks like there's one down inside of it, if I saw properly, and then there's one directly on top of them. Then right down the street, we have that catastrophe of a fight that's happening over there. And so, yes, you can see that it's going to be check 6 that's down in the lower areas. So there is a squad that's essentially defending them right now.
Yep, so they're going to let that happen. They're happy to have it happen right now. They do have to think about getting out in a little while, though. EG's got that east side of the map to themselves, so Italian an okay spot. Rush going to have to move out of Alamo to their chagrin. Optic taking shots from EG right now, but are going to come up here on Duel and probably wreak a little bit of havoc as Nova's got them in the crossfire. So Nova is engaging them, and now Optic is sneaking in from behind.
Nova comes up, blows up
I
like this, blowing up
in the trap.
Yeah, they're just locking it off so that way they can't come out and through. 32 people alive. 19 seconds before the circle compresses in. So many people are already set up and in position. You can see Lush still under fire from so many different angles right now. You got to give it to him for staying alive with the duress that's been being thrown his way. Now, as we can see, we've got Evil Geniuses still need to make their way west. Rush still needs to come down south. We've got Schaefer and Youngbay that need to push down through there. FlyQuest still alive by some miracle, and Murderous Plush Toys all still holding down that area. Can we please see how this is even set up at this point anymore? Because this is just lunacy. Okay, we've got Loss inside the shack out there. Mr. Fuzzy holding down another angle. Lush holding down the top, and there is a firefight coming through as Schaefer is driving by everybody trying to make it over to his friends, but they're running right up next to where Totality is at. You can see that Smithy's holding on the outside. There's a vehicle that's posted up, but Rush has got shots into the back of him. See, Smithy's playing this really quiet, letting the other squads do work for him.
He knows they're going to get pushed to that entrance most likely because of the way they're taking fire from out near the Alamo position. Rush hurting him real bad. So now we see Youngbay start to find his way into the warehouse. Smithy just going to hold the corner and let the guys from 4PUBG players suffer the wrath of everyone else on the map.
They're right on the edge of the circle, though, so they just have to survive all of this onslaught that's being thrown at them. And then they can potentially push their way inside the warehouse. Rush is now retreating. No, I wouldn't say retreating. They're trying to reposition themselves into the circle. Shots are coming out towards them. You can see UAZ's taking a little bit of damage. Soku does manage to make it over and through to his teammates. Now it's all on to what do Youngbay, Smeagol, and Schaefer do. This whole time, Totality has been so quiet. Only 2 members alive. That's going to be Smithy and Taro. Posted up, just looking at entrances, waiting for everybody to come through. No! Loss is finally dead as he comes forward, and Mr. Fuzzy takes him. So Murderous Plus Toy is still up and alive. Lush still holding that upper area right on top of him. You can see trying to get some type of line of sight of what's going on. This has been, it's just going to be nerve-wracking to be in this position.
Oh, no. Fuzz comes out, takes a ton of shots. The team is pushing him at this point, so he has to duck back. LP Lush going to start to slide forward. He slows the smoke down. Fuzzy to buy himself a little bit of space as he moves along the wall, but he's exposed and goes down immediately to Master Nook.
So we've got our guys posted up on the hillside. Our guys still inside the bunker. Next circle shows, and it is just going to be Evil Geniuses. Guys in the bunker are now going to have to figure out how the hell they get out of there. As so many different people are already posted up on all the different entrances. Speaking of getting out of tight spots, we got these two squads that are all posted up next to each other. At this point, you almost think that this team thinks that they're safe. They feel like, okay, they hear everything that's happening around them because Totality hasn't even moved. Like, they're not even showing footsteps. There's nothing that can give away their position.
They're staring at that corner. They're hard watching that corner.
There we go. Finally, Smithy moves.
But I think they had a good idea. Smithy going to go for the nade hook up high into the air. He throws 2. The first one comes down, gets the car, and hurts Youngbay.
This is the push on it. Comes around. Look at that. That is some beautiful grenade play coming out from Totality there. Just go ahead and wreck them, get the loot, continue on your path. 14 seconds to cross a wide open field, though. Evil Geniuses all positioned up, waiting to catch people, and looks like Optic gets just torn apart there as Nova catches him on transition.
Yeah, Zark got him with a nade, dude. Hurt them real bad. So Optic goes down, and they won't be in the finish here. That's good news for the rest of the teams in the map. Speaking of good news, EG's got some rocks in a pretty good position to stop Nova's push. Watts opens fire, gets a couple of tags on 2, but no knocks, and gets knocked in return. So that's actually going to cost them big time, as Nova now has the clearance to try to make something happen. Check 6 running around downtown trying to find their way out, but I don't think every entrance is blocked, but there's definitely most of the strategic ones inside the blue have been under total control by Nova.
It's just got to be a rough life for them, just trying to figure out how they can get out of there. Evil Genius has had so much circle control a second ago. And you can see now, finally, I think that they found their exit. They're trying to retreat back up. They are inside the blue, though, so they're going to have to med through. This is going to be all she wrote for them. They're just going to go ahead and die right here. There's nothing they can do about that. Evil Genius is now getting pushed on hard by Nova, though. Yeah. You can see Master Nook positioned up over here. You got Zyphon holding this back wall. They're just all coming back down behind this rock. They had to retreat off of all of their circle control just based off of that one knock. And Nova just is not relenting off of this. Shots coming up from every angle. Check 6 still trying to make their way up and forward. See, Totality's throwing down smokes galore off to the side. Zyphon's dropped back down off over there. Now everybody's just trying to play different sides of this road as they can kind of line of sight on top of each other. Lush is still alive and slowly creeping his way through all the smokes off in the distance.
Very impressive. It does look like Check 6 made it out and are slowly moving in here behind Nova. Nova in a good spot, but they're going to get hammer and anvil if they're not careful from behind. Jacking off, going to fall down. He ends up dropping, as does Reum. They take Landoon with him, though, so they should be able to get that res. That might buy some space for the guys to push out of Evil Geniuses. Zyphon coming forward, Nomi as well. Locknar keeping an eye on him.
And so with this, Evil Geniuses gets the respite that they needed. Smokes are now coming out. You can see Locknar wants to get the res on it, but it's oh so dangerous. Evil Geniuses know exactly where they are. Long-range skirmish is coming back and forth as another down comes through here from a grenade. Totality just taking out everybody with the nades right now. Off on the other side of it, so you can see the peaks are coming through. Nerfy Please barely making it back behind that rock. More nades coming out as Master Nook manages to get that kill onto two of them. This is starting to turn really bad for Nova as they are caught between the rocks they're hiding behind and the rock place. Finally, as Zyphon goes down on this, Nomi's doing a slow retreat off on top of it. Smoke's now coming out as they can try to get this res, but that could be a chance for them to get over to Landoon. You can see he's bleeding out so quickly over here. They're slowly rolling down the hills. Zyphon going to be able to get the, looks like he is going to be able to get rezzed off of this.
Nomi's going for the flank. 4 teams left alive. If they can secure Nova, they can secure the circle and a good uphill position. The problem is Nova's got the 3. Locknar in the front position, pushing up to the tree. Nomi sees him, and now he's exposed. Has to try to fight his way into cover here. Goes for the spray down and loses. Locknar gets it.
That was such a good play from Locknar. Peeks off the other side, jumps around the other, secures the shots on it. That's exactly what they needed. Master Nook's now trying to come down the outside of this with his teammates. Circle's now showing itself slowly starting to creep in. Everything's now collapsing around them. You can see the fact that everything's on Locknar now. He's got to push into these two. There is still having to go off to the left to make it into safety of the circle. It's just a bloodbath over here as Locknar looking up, knows exactly where he's at. He has near on no life. He's just waiting for a head to peek up over the crest of that hill. Slowly the blue is creeping up on him. He can't stay here for too much longer. He's hopping into the first aid kit. He's trying to get what he can off of this. Is he going to be able to get it in time? And yes, he does. He instantaneously is creeping off to the side of it. He doesn't have to reveal his head the whole time, creeping off of it. 3 people alive. This is where everything is at right now. It is a 2v1 as Locknar knows where they are. They know where he is. It almost looks like they might think he might be taken out. They're looking different angles. They want to check on it. Surely they know it's just one person, but they're not clearing off of this side. Taking a little bit of blue damage. He pops up and instantly gets spotted, and with that, Zyphon's going to get the kill.
Zyphon, by the way, killed 3 of Nova to make that happen. So he went with the 3K, did a beautiful play, and got that win secured for EG.
So with this, Evil Genius is coming up with a solid 10 kills. Falling right back behind that, Nova barely getting edged out, getting that second place spot, but following up with 10 kills of their own. Totality Smithy coming up with 5 kills off of some awesome grenade plays there.
Right.
So netting a kill of himself. Back behind that, you can see it's going to be Dash, Mr. Blown Apart, Lush, and Binlong netting themselves 4 kills. And last but not least, we've got Check 6 netting themselves 2 kills. With that, I think that's going to be it for us for the night. On behalf of Toffees, you want to say anything before we go and throw it over to the desk?
Great games, can't wait. I'll be back tomorrow, so I'm excited to see what the second half of the groups have to say before the split comes down. But let's hear the desk, man.
So with that, we'll toss it back over to Jabroni Bro and Mustache Dave. You guys take it away.
Match from Toffees. Thank you guys very much. Game number 4 ends, and it is actually, this is great because I just was talking about how Evil Geniuses, you know, falling into some woes. They couldn't really, and then they come out and win. So just immediately punching me in the face. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have said anything. Evil Geniuses showing me up. Dave, how did they come away with that W?
What a game. What a game. Honestly, I thought Nova was going to win.
I know, Nova's looking good. They're looking violent.
I was feeling Nova over here, taking out Check 6. You know, trying to sneak their way up in here, taking out a couple people from Evil Geniuses. But Evil Geniuses dominating this southern east side as they were just gifted this circle. Placements were key in these guys' strategy. And, man, they just fragged out. Look at this. Already 7 kills for the whole squad. They deserve this win. What a great game for Evil Geniuses. And like you said, we were just talking about these guys.
Yeah.
So it's like they listen to the desk and like, hey, we're gonna show these desk guys what's up. And that they did. I mean,
Yeah,
both
punched
squads.
me right in the face. Let me tell you. Well, they actually have
Punched him in the
Zyphon, who is the IGL of Team Dignitas, one of the EU teams, subbing for them tonight. So that is Zyphon. In case you guys are familiar with the name, you're familiar with the EU scene. He is one of the players for Team Dignitas. And, coming, he's playing with the NA guys, and
He's got the juice.
He made an absolute statement. There's 6 kills coming out of Zyphon, especially in the end, taking out 3 of those Nova players. And I think it's very important. That was a situation where we saw Lochnar had a great push. It was a nice fight where it was kind of trading out, downs going both ways. They're trying to get reses back and forth, and it was a very exciting way to end the night and end game number 4. Congratulations to EG grabbing a big win to finish off split number 1.
Something I want to ask you.
Ask away.
So we saw Nova laying that trap. Trap. Trapping all day long. Did they get 2 members from Check 6? I believe they might have. Check 6 were in those shelters, and they were trying to run out. They actually died to the blue. So I think that's how Check 6 lost 2 of their members.
I love that out of Nova, because the biggest worry if you're a team that's holding down that area, you have nice defilade and everything, but it comes from the tunnels. And the worst case scenario is a team underneath you coming out of those tunnels and messing up your end game. So they decide, all right, we're holding down this one. Let's just block it off. Let's sacrifice the UAZ here. If anyone is below us, they cannot come out in this direction. And that is how the UAZ works, in case you are not aware. If you actually drive it into one of the tunnels, you blow it up. You cannot get around on any side. It's impossible. So you're trapped. So you have to find another exit. If there is no other exit, then you will actually just die under there.
All right. Thanks for clearing that one up. Now let's see if our producers are on points here.
Oh God.
Let's see if they're on. They have to have the NA nade.
Oh, I knew what it was beforehand. The producer over here. Look at this. Look at Smithy with the 3,000 IQ.
He's just relaxing. He doesn't know what is about to happen. Smithy tossing it up, going in there, going for the long Brett Favre, touchdown pass here. 1 goes off. All right. 2 goes off. I was a little early there. Damn, Young Bay taking out that vehicle explosion, creating all this chaos. These guys are able to both sweep around both edges.
You're running a 2v3 and neither of the 2 get shot at all. You did something right, and that was Totality. They're making serious plays. I was a little confused towards the end of the game because we watched so much of Evil Geniuses and Nova. Like, I don't even know what went down on the other side. All of a sudden, Totality's dead, and you look up at the top right of the screen. It's 2 teams with 3 players left. I was like, whoa. They were taking some shots. I know EG was taking some shots over in that direction. Nova was from time to time, so a lot of pressure on that side. It was a tough run, but Totality with a huge play there to stay alive and grabbing 3 kills.
Third place. Third place. I mean, third place because of that. Great NA frags. I mean, I know people like to joke about the abilities of NA.
Well, all right, to be fair, the NA frags have not been the best. There has been some rough frags.
Whoa, Jabroni, EU Jabroni.
Hey, no. Hey, I will come in here wearing an American flag, all right? I'm America all the way. But, not the best grenades coming out of our guys. That's all I'm saying. Not the best grenades. There could, just practice.
I know you want to wrap this up. We're getting to that time of the night. Well, I think there's one more thing that we need to talk about. That murderous plush toy. Them third partying that whole FlyQuest render fight. Over there in that compound. That was something else. That was something else. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great thing to call it. Something else. This fight felt like it lasted 25 minutes. It was just constantly, we kept coming back to it, and it kept going. It just never ended. FlyQuest, they were trying to move in. Render had a nice split. I actually don't hate the way they were split at all. I would have liked to see Dash a little, maybe holding down the same building up on the eastern side with who was over there. But then all of a sudden, Los is in here. He's got no helmet. He's coming in the shack. Then they just sit here. And all of a sudden, they don't have to worry about it because Murder's Plush Toys is here to fight Render for you. You don't even,
Someone said Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg was invited to this party.
Yeah, a little house party. I saw that in the chat.
Yeah, I saw that. I love the chat. These guys
all right, I'm gonna be honest today, Dave. Chat was a little spicy tonight. There was a lot of arguing going on in chat. It was a little toxic for NA. I was a little surprised. I have to say.
That's how NA is. That's how we roll, baby. That's how we roll. You talk about my mama? You talk about my mama, Jabroni?
A little contest going on between the NA chat. It was, it was an aggressive night. See, EU, it's all emotes 100% of the time. It's just emotes. NA, we have conversations, and there's a lot going on, a lot of arguments tonight. So it was exciting to watch. I was actually getting distracted watching.
Yeah. It's because of all the bloodshed out here tonight. All the fights. I mean, honestly, every game was pretty quick, in my opinion. I mean, it was always jam packed with action, with grenades, with people honking their horns. Fights after fights. It was just a phenomenal night. So it's chaotic. Like, you're in a soccer game, your team's winning. You're just gonna get pumped up and start screaming and throwing beer at people, and start fighting. That's just what you do. You get pumped up because your team's pumped. Everyone's pumped. That's how we do it in the NA. We don't just spam little heart emotes. We're all about the pump over here.
All right. Well, here's the situation. We started an hour early tonight, so we are done. Because you know what's happening? Skins, guys. We're getting skins. That's what's happening. Weapon skins.
Skins equal wins.
It has finally arrived. Weapon skins are here. I know you guys have been saving up. You've been waiting. You're like, oh, my God, I got to get that orange scar skin. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's totally not going to make me easier to see. But skins are awesome, so I'm excited. I'm going to go buy some skins. On top of that, we will be live here again tomorrow for both EU and NA. Very important because these teams that played tonight, the ones that may be on the cusp, if you will, their fate is no longer in their hands. They need to watch those teams tomorrow. They need to see if they get past in points. It's exciting. It's nerve-wracking. It's stressful. Who will be in showdown? Who will not? Who will be your first place team? Who will be your second? Who will be third? Who will get some money? And who will be able to compete for the $20,000? All of that will be answered tomorrow right here on PUBG Online for EU and NA. Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here with me tonight. Thank you. I believe you will be here again tomorrow, so we should have some hype there. I'm excited. Could be joined with Dave and Toffees if I'm not mistaken on the desk. So that should be a
Toffees and me. We're gonna bring the hype. So Jabroni, just prepare yourself. Get a good rest tonight.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm gonna need a good night's sleep. If I'm not mistaken, we are starting EU a little early tomorrow, just to try to help people out. So I'm not 100% sure. I want to say it's a half hour early. So it's a half hour early. If I'm wrong, sorry. And besides that. Thank you to all the viewers, the mods, all the players, everybody that was a part of this production, Syphil and Seth. It was a great set of games here today for both EU and NA. So much fun. I cannot wait until tomorrow. So much excitement and hype behind it. And until then, you guys have an amazing night.
Looking down from the heights that we have built all